And then let's go live on IG. Come on, IG. All right. What's up, everybody? All right. So, welcome to another session of the Mastermind Pod live out of San Francisco on this beautiful Thursday night. As you guys can see, we have the gentleman here tonight, and we have another great show planned for you guys for the Masculine where we focus on male masculinity, self-improvement, and purpose. We have a great topic to discuss. As always, if you guys see value in the content, you guys already know what to do. It's to smash that like and subscribe button real quick. Don't forget, for the fellas and the ladies, this is a public show. So if you guys are watching this right now, I know a lot of you guys reach out to me on Instagram, always ask me, how do I jump on? Because they're not from the Bay Area. The best way to jump on the panels is on my Wednesday and my Thursday night shows, where it's virtual. The link is in the description on YouTube. Come over from the different platforms, YouTube, and you'll be able to click on the link in the description below, and you'll be able to jump on and be part of the pod. I see Stan on the live chat. Good to see you, VNFCW. Let's definitely get the live chat popping. I do appreciate you guys always tuning in for the live shows. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know your feedback. And of course, if you do want to drop a super chat, any specific question or topics, ask it through a super chat. We'll be able to respond to you guys. And of course, all the donations, thank you so much. We definitely have some ladies jumping on within an hour. So we always want to include the female perspective in our discussions on the Masculine Pod. So we have a great topic and discussion. And of course, quick shout out to my sponsor, Global Financial Impact. If you're looking for financial services for setting up college fund for your kids, life insurance, learning about financial independence and legacy planning, definitely reach out to Savannah and her team. All their information is in the description below on YouTube. Reach out to her, and they'll be able to take care of you guys as well. But nevertheless, appreciate you guys. Let's have a great discussion, fellas. As always, Phil, Jerk, Damien. Always appreciate you guys jumping on the Masculine Pod, having these discussions. I'll pass it to you guys to give yourselves a quick intro for everybody out there, and we'll get it rolling. I'll start with you, Damien. Go ahead and give yourself a quick intro for everyone out there.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy once again, Damien, host of the Can I Get Some podcast when I have time. 49-year-old, married, 3 kids. So, this is going to be, and a father of a daughter. So this is going to be an interesting perspective to dive into.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Damien. As always, do appreciate you jumping on. Pass it to Jerk, all the way out there, living the dream, always making time for the pod. Thank you so much, Jerk. Go ahead and give yourself a quick intro.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm the sophisticated Jerk. I'm gonna be on some like hood rat shit tonight, on the phone. So it's probably gonna go in and out. So excuse me tonight, but great topic. Thanks for having us, Will.
No worries. Thank you so much, Jerk. Always good to have you on the pod. And Phil, you good to go?
Indeed.
Go ahead, Phil. Give yourself a quick intro, Phil.
Yes, my name is indeed Phil. I'm a junior. I'm 40. Oh, wow. Getting up there. About to be 44 in a relationship. And, just I'm definitely excited about tonight and the topic. Ready to get it going. Appreciate that.
Hey, Phil, make sure Joe didn't steal none of your stuff. Just check your place after he leaves.
Hey,
what's that supposed to mean?
Prom time is in the house.
You're a felon, Joe. That's what that means, Joe.
Hey, if there's anybody stealing out of all of us, I think I'm the last person that would need to steal.
I disagree, Joe. Every criminal says that.
That's exactly what a criminal would say.
Are you speaking from experience?
Yeah, experience with dealing with criminals. All right. As always, Phil, always a pleasure to have you on. And I got also just give a special shout out to Phil. Definitely coming on the pod. And Gas Mask, if you're watching this right now, definitely come out. I do always want to challenge everybody in the live chat. I know a lot of you guys are always on the live chat. I always encourage you guys to come on and be able to be part of the conversations, especially when you have those conversations with women. I know a lot of you guys talk your ish on the live chat, but I just want to challenge you guys and come on and have these real life discussions and do it face to face. So appreciate you guys for always jumping on. Shout out to Phil. But we'll go right into it, fellas. The topic we're going to be discussing is how important is a woman's relationship with her father when choosing a wife. So I saw this video on TikTok. Let me just play the video real quick. It's about this guy. I just saw he was kind of breaking down why for men out there who are looking for a good woman, a good wife, why is it so important for him to be able to figure out their relationship with her father before choosing commitment and investing into that woman. So it's going to be a great discussion. If you're watching this right now, let me know what you guys think as you're reacting to the video. And for the women watching this right now, I would love to hear your feedback as well. You know, what's your take on this? Is it important for you when it comes to committing to a man, dealing with your relationship with your own father when it comes to dealing with the man? So we'd like to hear what you guys have to say. So let me just play this video real quick, and then we'll go right into the fellas and get our responses. So this is the video I saw. There we go.
Strong father or a drunk father will always have a weak taste in men, or when she experiences a good man, she will screw him over. One of the things you need to find out, and I heard Rich say this week when he talked about anatomy of a cheating wife. And I love this. You've heard me say this. Check out somehow, some way, very early on, what her relationship with her father is like. And one of the really neat things that he said, and I don't know if this is original with him, I'm assuming that it is. He says, like on a first date, like a coffee date, you might say, so what was it like growing up in your house? What's it like to grow up like Mary? So what did Mary grow up like? What did Sally grow up like? What was it like in your house when you're growing up? And then just shut up and let her talk. Time and time again, every time I've ever dated a woman who had a shitty father or an alcoholic father, the relationship sucked and it ended abruptly.
All right, so that was just a quick clip. There was a lot of back and forth between the comment section between the men and women on that clip, but that's the topic we're going to be discussing. How important is a woman's relationship with her father when choosing a wife? So just for the context, if you guys are watching this right now, we're not talking about girlfriends. We're not talking about side pieces. You know, we're not talking about, one night stands. We're talking about a wife, a committed relationship, the type of woman that you want to have kids with, the type of woman that you want to be the mother of your children. So we're going to be discussing those types of quality of women. So if you're going to choose that type of woman to come into your life and commit to her, how important is it for you as a man to know her relationship with her father before choosing her to make her your wife? So I'll start with you, Damien. I'll pass it to you. Damien, I know you're a father yourself. You're married for 16?
Yeah, 16 years.
16 years. Together 18.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been that's how you've been doing so much podcast. I already know this is
Yeah.
all right. But so yeah, you have your father, you have a daughter, so I'll definitely appreciate your perspective on this. But go ahead, Damien. What do you think?
I think it's uber important because that person sets the tone for her expectation of what masculinity and men is going to look like. If he was somebody who's like there and involved and had good decision-making skills and was present and showed love and nurturing and wanted to protect her, that's the expectation she's going to have of the men that she encounters as an adult. If he was the opposite of that, she'll have the opposite expectation of men. She'll think men will cheat, men will be abusive, men will be all these things. So you'll have to be breaking down a lot of barriers in order to show you're not that person in her life. So I think it's uber important. It's funny because like my wife didn't grow up with the best dad or whatever, and I realized I had to break through some of those preconceived ideas of what a man would do and how he would be in a relationship in order for her to change her mind thing. So I think it's like super important that a woman has a positive engagement and positive impression of her dad when she's looking to be a wife to somebody, because the last thing you want to do with all the other things that you have to do as a man, as a husband, as a provider is be constantly working to break down walls that you didn't even build, that somebody else built, doing somebody else's time.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, breaking down walls and things that you had nothing to do with. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Damien. I pass it to you, Jerk. Jerk, what do you think about the topic? Go ahead, Jerk.
Yeah, no, I like what Dame was saying, and I also think, having I say a dad present in, especially a female's life is critical. It's definitely going to save you some therapy sessions, on the back end. If you're a guy, you're coming in, they have a good relationship with their dad. And then, like I said, I like what Dane was saying because it's just, we always say lead by example. So it's just like if they had that presence within their life of a good father that, loved them and cared for them. It seems like when I'm hearing a lot of female in these spaces that didn't have that, it's almost like they kind of see guys in a sense of like, what can I get from those guys? Like, how can I use them versus like if a female has like a good relation, typically, she's going to be more caring for men, kind of like the way that Dame was explaining it, where it's just like, they're going to have like a good, I'll say a better relationship. And this is not for everybody because, hey, we see examples from all, but it just tends to seem like those females that have that like father figure that definitely care for them, it's just going to be like a more seamless relationship where they're going to be more caring for a guy. And like Dame said, they're not going to have all those walls and stuff.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Jerk. I'll pass it to you, Phil. Phil, yeah, what do you think, Phil?
Well, I'll definitely say it's very, very important for that presence of a father because it creates structure and it creates order, the type of order and the type of structure that you need, and discipline, most of all, that you need to know when to say no, even when you don't want to say no, right? When to call somebody, even when you don't want to call somebody, because there's certain boundaries that a father puts in place, and that structure to me is something that we all need to learn from our father, and consequences, understanding that there's a consequence for your actions, and if you do X, then the consequence might be very grave depending upon what you did, right? So that's where I believe it's important, and I'm sure we'll dive into more ways, but just making sure, and I definitely agree with Dame and Jerk of their takes, because without that presence, without that uh um it's like, for instance, I'll just give a quick example. My son, right? Just my voice, even when it comes to other uh nieces, nephews, just my voice alone will make them, especially when they're a lot younger, will make them stand at attention and listen, and kind of like, and that right there, I think, is something that when you create that type of mindset to think before you act, it's important. So say we dive more into it, but yes, it's extremely important.
All right. Thank you so much, Phil. Thank you, fellas. All right. But appreciate you guys watching so far. Let's definitely get that live chat popping. I see some of you guys are already watching. Don't be a ninja watcher tonight. I know a lot of you guys have been ninja watching. Definitely comment, participate. Let's get that live chat active. And if you do want to jump on, the link is in the description below. I want to ask you, I think, Damon, you brought up a great point. I would like to kind of expand on that. You said that there are some things that you had to do with your wife to kind of break through, because you said that she necessarily didn't have the best relationship with her father. So you were trying to break through to her to make sure that she's going to be respectful to your leadership and your standards and your boundaries as well. So if you don't mind, can we expand on that? What are the things that you saw that you had to kind of break through for her before? Because you realized for yourself, look, if we don't break through and make this work between me and you, this is not going to happen long term for a committed relationship. Oh, you're on mute, Damien.
I think what happens a lot of time is that it can get to the point where a lot of women will correlate slight things and they'll elevate it to things that they might have saw from their father. Like, for example, I'm the type of person, if I feel like I'm going to get into it with you or we're going to argue something, I'm just going to, you know what, I'm not about to argue with you. I'm going to go into the other room and maybe we can kind of circle in back or whatever and have like a more productive conversation. So I'm literally, I like I'll leave the room, but in her life, it was like he would leave the house and be gone for like 3 days. If her like if her and him and his mom, her and her mom got into a fight or whatever, and I was like, letting her, I'm not. She'd be like, don't go. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to another room. Don't trip. But it'd be like things that were in her mind were mirroring stuff that she saw that was much worse. So what you have to do is say, look, you know, when it comes to our situation is not going to be this. It's going to be this when we have these disagreements and what have you. I'm never going to be like abusive to you. I'm never going to like just bounce out on you. I'm not going to be threaten you with divorce all the time and stuff like that. I'm you know, like that's not going to happen in our relationship. So she had to be comfortable with me, and I had to show that over the time that the things that she heard consistently from her dad saying to her mom, that's not going to be a normalized part of our relationship. She's not going to hear those things from me, or even actions. Like every time where, like sometimes I didn't want to do anything on the weekend, and I just be like, you know what, I just want to chill on the couch, not do anything. I don't feel like going anything. She a lot of times when she would equate that with her dad, who like was like didn't really have a job all the time, who basically like lived her entire teenage years like on the couch and stuff like that, you know. So it was one of those things where she always wanted to be active doing something. She was like, hey, can we go do this place? And can we go here? How about we go this place and we go this place? I'm like, sometimes we can just chill. And that don't mean like you don't equate a man chilling on the couch as, you know, him not being motivated or anything like that. It's just like, sometimes we got to chill, because she's always like, let's go, go. And I knew where that was coming from. So those are kind of some of the things that I had to like work through for her to kind of differentiate myself from the male role model that she had growing up.
Okay. All right. So thank you for sharing that, Damien.
Yeah.
Just want to pass it to you, Jerk. You know, what do you think about that in your experience? Do you think that when you deal with women who don't have a positive relationship with their father, are there certain things that you kind of have to break through to her for her to understand, especially being with like good, strong men with strong boundaries and strong standards?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a lot of trust issues.
Okay.
Because, you know, like Dame's kind of killing it, you know, and he highlighted a lot of stuff. It's just like, you know, when that person is like in and out of their life, and, you know, your father is supposed to be that you know, that security, safety net, you know, that person, the guidance, mentorship. So when they're in and out of your life, you know, it just, like I said, it kind of destroys, I'll say, females to a certain degree, because they're yearning for all that love and stuff. So, you know, it kind of sometimes it can make them either cold to a lot of men,
yeah,
or it can make them seek like love from anything, like they're seeking attention a lot of the time. So, yeah, I definitely where, you know,
Screaming out.
Oh yeah, your screen went out, Jerk. Yeah, I did. I want to add on to what Jerk said before he comes back on, then I'll let him continue. In my dating history in the past, I did notice that when I dealt with women who had either never had the father in their life, or they had a bad relationship with their father, I did realize that they had a lot of trust issues. And I think you also talked about it, Damien, where a lot of women will have like a big wall up. So luckily for me, you know, I was blessed that I was raised by my parents are still together. I saw a good, strong relationship with my parents, but I did realize that when I did date girls, and I found out later that they either never had a relationship with their dad, or it was they had a negative relationship with their dad. Regardless of what I did, and I thought I did everything right, but regardless of what I did, I just felt like that they always didn't trust. They always didn't trust me, or one of the things that I still remember from a previous date I went. I remember we were dating. I was dating this girl, but she would always ask me like, "Are you seeing anybody, or do you have like multiple girlfriends? Do you have somebody else you're talking to?" And then she would tell me that's okay. If you're talking to somebody else, that's okay. I just want to know. And then even though I haven't shown anything or any type of behavior to think like I was talking to other girls, and she just assumed that because she just told me like it's hard for her to trust me because she's never met a man in her life and her father wasn't around. So I feel like I had to do more work just to earn her trust and for her to kind of open up emotionally to me because I needed that emotional connection with her. And then it just seems oftentimes it just seemed cold, and she wasn't reciprocating emotionally. Where that kind of just like repelled me because I couldn't create an emotional connection with her. It just felt very cold, and I was just like, you know what? And she didn't reciprocate none of it. And so I was like, I'm just gonna keep it moving because we're not building anything here. She was attractive, so I try to kind of force it to work.
You try to stick it out, come on, girl. Make this work.
That's the only reason I tried to force it, but I just didn't feel no connection to her, at all. So it's just more physical. So I just like, what, I need something more than this physical part. Like there's like I'm doing my best, and my best is not enough for you. For us to feel kind of emotional connection, and I just kept it moving. But I did notice, when the women that I came across that had a strong, good, healthy relationship with their dad, it was easier for me as a man to connect emotionally. And then and then also they reciprocated that real easy. They appreciated me, taking them out, taking on dates, provide for them, doing things I would like to do for her. And I noticed the women that saw that in their life from their own dad, they really appreciate. They would always just communicate better. Hey, thank you so much for taking me on a date. They'll do small things like, what? They're like one of the girls I dated in the past. She just, hey, she made lunch for me, right? Just hey, thank you so much for taking me on a date. But I want to make some lunch for you next time. I just want to appreciate what you've done. So I just noticed the reciprocation was a lot better. The communication was a lot better. And then the emotional connection was a lot better dealing with women who had a strong father compared to women that had no father figure or they had a very negative. Like I had to do more work just to earn like an ounce of their trust. Where the women who had a good relationship, I didn't really have to work for that. Like they saw that already, so they had a very optimistic perspective when it comes to trusting men. So right. I just wanted to add that to you. That's one. I know, Jerk, you were talking about that, but I'll pass it back to you, Jerk.
Yeah, no, you hit on the last piece because I think a lot of times it's almost like you said, you got to jump over those hurdles and you got to do the most. And sometimes I know we talk about it a few times with burnout. So I mean that tends to happen when you got to do all this extra stuff to break through those layers that Dane was talking about. So it is a lot of work. You'll try to commit to it, but we're all human to a certain degree where it's just like, hey, you know what, this is a little much. I ain't do nothing wrong to you. Especially if you're a good guy and stuff, you got all your stuff together and stuff, and we're supposed to be ambitious, building ourselves up. So to take that on along with the typical guy process where we're doing all this stuff, it is overwhelming because, like you said, been in them shoes where it was just like trying to get somebody to to break through those layers, and it's tough because it's almost like they're taking all that anger from the father out on you and stuff. So
one of the things, the only way it's going to work, and I think I was one of the lucky ones, is if the woman has done the work to recognize that she is triggered by things, and she can, and to recognize when she's doing it, because a lot of times it's a man will like be considerate and like, to quote Paula Feza, and really have that duty of care if he knows what's going on. Like, because he could just be like, what is happening? And you're like, it's you, and then it's you or you this or that. But if she's like, this is a me thing, you know, I have these issues, I'm working through them or what have you, you know, give me some grace in order to work through them or what have you. If they can recognize that, it makes it easier for you to kind of be like, okay, I understand what's going on. I can be a little bit more supportive. But if they're just like dumping all this shit on you from that, like I said, that you had nothing to do with, and they can't explain why they're doing it, they've done no work to kind of work through it or what have you, then it makes it to where most guys wouldn't even entertain that. One of the things I have to give my wife 1,000% credit is she did so much work before she even met me to like try to mitigate those issues or what have you. Right. So she was able to quickly recognize when she was doing things that were triggered by the father that she had, as opposed to the things that I was doing, and we were able to communicate and talk about it. But you know, that's the only way it's going to work, is if they've done some kind of work to recognize those triggers and to be able to vocalize those triggers with you in order to let you know that it's not you.
Dave, your wife actually did the work, right? It wasn't the healing phase like a lot of women talk about.
Nah, she didn't. Nah, she did the work.
Right.
Hey, well, you talk about the 20 to 30 year healing phase.
30-year healing phase.
The run through phase.
All right.
But anyway.
All right. Thank you so much, Dave. I'll pass it to you, Phil. Phil, yeah, we were just talking about the things that makes it harder, and the things we have to kind of break through with the women who don't have a good relationship with their dad. Yeah. You want to expand on that or share some experiences?
Indeed. I mean, you know, the relationships that I've had, I vividly can think about many times, and the relationships that I've had with the ladies that did not have the presence of their father, and they was a lot more emotionally unstable. They were a lot more argumentative, you know, and that was something that, again, when you're looking for a, you know, a wife, right, when you're dating with the intent to marry, then you know that that's a red flag, if you will. But a lot of times, if you're not, you know, sound yourself, and if you don't have that diffusing spirit, right, that within you, or as some would say, the emotional intelligence to know how to not poke or inflame that type of a situation, then it can go left real quick, right? It can blow up, because you're gonna meet that negative, more in a sense, confrontational, rambunctious, you know, that those traits, you're gonna meet it, because you know, as men, sometimes we'll be in a space where it's like, I'm ready to look for a solution, but at the moment, generally, especially with and like I said, in my past relationships, without that father being present in their life, and wasn't really raised with a father that much at all. I mean, that it was I had to do a lot more work being the peacemaker, right? I exerted a lot more energy being the peacemaker, and when I was tripping, then I would kind of mess that up, because obviously, if you're supposed to be that peacemaker and you're going through something yourself and you're looking for a solution, but she's looking to just be heard at the moment, or to vent, not to look for a solution at that moment. She's like, you know, and you're trying to console, then again, you're having more problems when you do it that way. So and just the flip side of that, when you look at, you know, the ladies, and even the young lady that I'm with right now, she, like I said, father's very present in her life, still to this day. And, and she's in her mid-30s. So being that presence is there, when we have disagreements, it's so much easier for me to have a certain level of, assertiveness or tone. And she doesn't say, I don't like your tone. I don't like the way you're talking to me. You're treating me like a child. Like I don't hear those things, because she's used to it, right? That tone, that point blank, that all right, let's what are we going to fix this? So that's just an example that I definitely personally have experience with the two sides of the coin, if you will.
Will, can I ask the men a question?
Yeah. Yep.
What do you think is more detrimental for a woman relating to men as a whole, having a bad father or no father in their life? I'm just curious, what are people's impression? What do you feel is more detrimental? Because I have my impression, and I want to know what you guys think.
Go ahead, Derek.
I would say a bad father.
Yeah. Bad father.
Yeah, because no, at least you could fantasize like what that interaction would be. You could mirror somebody else's, like, okay, I have a friend that has a good father, so maybe my interaction would have been like that, and they could kind of latch on to that experience. They had a friend or a stepfather or something like that. But I think if you had a bad father, it just the nerve that like that hits. I think it just cuts so deep that that's what scars a lot of people with a bad interaction. So yeah, I'll definitely have to say a bad father.
Yeah. I think I think the bad father is a lot worse because if she has a bad father, that's a bad experience, right? But I think even if a woman has no father, there's some things that can make up for that just to have a positive experience. Example would be if the mother had a positive perspective towards the father, even though he left already, but she made peace with that, and she taught, she kind of had a positive. She raised her to be positive when it comes to men, or she had strong male figures in her life that had a positive example for men. So that can kind of make up for not having a father. But if her experience is totally just her own biological dad is a bad experience, I think that's going to cause some deeper issues and give her some trauma. And that's the thing she's gonna compare all men to is to her experience with her dad. But if she didn't have a dad, that's it's gonna be left to her environment, to the people in her life, and hopefully that there's some positive people. Hopefully the mom can kind of give her a positive experience. Even I'm not saying it's still gonna be more difficult if you don't have the dad, but not having that experience, I think I think there's more potential for you as a man to have a bigger impact on her than totally having a 100% bad experience with her dad. Yeah.
I guess I would have to pull from, as it is now, kind of spirit of the moment. I would have to just pull from the two different relationships that I was in, with the one who had a father, a bad father, and the one who had no father. And I would just say, and kind of this, as I'm looking at it in general, no father to me would be worse. Reason being is when you're looking at no type of presence, and obviously there's levels to bad father, right? So I'm not, obviously if you have to go like in a very traumatic example, and I don't even want to mention some of them. I'm sure y'all can think of some, but if you have like a bad father in the sense that wasn't really there that much, or could have been a little bit of abusive, things of that nature, but was still there for the most part. I think what you have in that dynamic is you have, at least she sees what the male presence is. because when you don't have a male presence, you chase a male presence. If you have a bad male presence, you eventually, the older you get, you learn how to determine, okay, this, I want the opposite. So you have something to compare it to. But when you don't have anything to compare it to, then you're just looking at others and you're just trying to chase men and the man of that you're trying to put in your father's stead, if you will. Right. So that's the experience that I've seen when it comes to, you know, different perspectives. It's worse if you do not have a father.
I'm with you guys. Like, I believe that the bad father is a worse dynamic to have because, like I said, they do set the tone for the expectation of how men are behave, how men are act, what you can expect if you get with a man. So it may make you hesitate to get in a relationship, especially if you've seen what happens long term in a relationship, if it's been negative or what have you. But there's one caveat to that is if we're determining what could be more detrimental, if without the father, it'd be the attitude of the mom.
Yeah.
If the mom was hate, like you said, the mom was like talking bad about all men and, you know, and we're just poisoning your mind that all men ain't shit or what have you. And then the first time you see anything closely related to anything your mother said, you just come like, yep, all men ain't shit. And every man from now on is going to be working their ass off to get through that. And they're just not only have to break through your wall when it comes to men. If she's close to her mom, they got to break through their mom's wall because she's going to be talking stuff about the men. Like if you have a bad experience, see, I told you, girl, men ain't shit. You need to like leave him or whatever. So you got two people that could potentially be poisoning the woman, poisoning or impacting the likelihood of her getting to a good relationship with the man because the mother is elevating all the shit that's happening between you that may be negative that may happen to you in your relationship. It's just so, but I do agree that, you know, for the most part, not having a father would probably be better suited if there's other opportunity to engage with positive male role models.
Yeah. No, because I've dated girls in the past where they didn't have fathers, but the mother had a positive, raised her in a positive to have a positive perspective when it comes to men. Because she made peace. She wasn't like those women you just described, Damien. You know, all men ain't shit. You know, your baby daddy ain't shit. You know, type of stuff like that. So, but yeah. I met some girls, really nice, friendly, compassionate women, and their mothers were like that as well. And they had even though the father wasn't around, and the thing is, I guess it comes from a cultural aspect because in the Polynesian culture, we grew up there's like multiple families in the household.
Yeah,
it's not like a nuclear family. All right, so she grew up with her mom, with the uncles and everything. So she had the positive relationship with the men. And also sometimes I think ignorance is bliss. You don't know what you don't know. So if you're like the first man in their lives, I truly believe that most young girls they have a desire to be with a good man. So if you don't know what you don't know, if she didn't experience a bad father, all right, and then she's gonna be more willing to look for a good man. And if you can come into her life, and as long as you have they're more open to allowing, like I mentioned before, the more open for emotional connection with the first man in your life. But I've noticed that when they have a bad experience with their father, that scars a lot of women. Definitely, depending on the woman, and it's gonna the walls will be up. And it is going to require a lot of work and patience from your end to kind of bring those walls down for her to be able to open up to you emotionally. But it's interesting to hear from both sides.
Yeah.
Jerk, you want to add on, Jerk?
Yeah, no, I was just there was a couple things, when Dane brought up the mom element. That's definitely true. You got to battle those two layers. But I also think like if a female has brothers too, like you were saying, Will, like a positive role model. But I think if they have brothers, I think that helps out a lot because I kind of think that helps kind of diffuse everything. But yeah, I just think bad is worse because I think if you have that bad experience, it's almost like they're lashing out at everybody else because of that bad interaction. So that's why I would say definitely bad is worse. Because like I said, you could get positive male role models in your life, like whether it's a brother, family member, family friend, or something.
You got to watch out. I feel like you got to be careful with
question, Dave.
Yeah, I feel like you got to be careful with the brother thing because the brothers, they're usually close in age, so they may not have the life experience because they may be still out there messing up with a bunch of women and cheating on their girlfriends and stuff like that. I think if they're significantly older than you, or if they married and have like a good, but a lot of times, like I knew girls who dated girls and were like, yeah, I know I'm in cheat because all my brothers cheat on their wives, kind of situation,
That's true.
all my brothers, so you got to be watching that because the brother could set a tone for like the expectation of how young men are, especially if she's young trying to date.
I would love to look at the statistics on that. I'm gonna do some digging because I guess it's just the way that I'm kind of looking at it as it is now, and my mind is subject to change because but I just see like it's like when you don't have something, when you don't have a father, the absence it has I've been in different conversations where it almost haunts you to the point where it's like, am I not good enough? Did he leave? And why did he leave me? It's like it's more of an abandoned feeling versus having and then them just being bad, right? And I guess when I'm looking at bad, I'm not looking at tragic or abusive or like the spectrum of bad is where I guess I'm not seeing how a bad when you're just looking at bad because like I said it now we're not using more forceful words of detriment. So that's why I would just say that void and in that lack of having that is something again that you question yourself as a child. You're like, well, and these questions just come in your mind. And when you have a dad, it's kind of like, well, he's a jerk, not a sophisticated one.
I'm like, God damn.
But he's just he's a butthole.
You been talking to Jerk's son?
Yeah.
Little jerk.
But I could kind of see what you're saying, Phil. It just depends on that level of bad. Like if he missed some stuff and he probably went out drinking and gambling a little bit, he didn't cross too many lines, then yeah, maybe that would be better. But if it's like on that spectrum of bad where like abuse and all kind of neglect, then
like essay or
the worst thing I think it's more detrimental. Like I know people who dad didn't leave physically, but mentally he was checked out of the whole like family. It's like they could see the dad walking around, but he never talked to him. He never engaged with him. He never asked how his school was or anything like that. So he was mentally abandoned his family as far as showing any kind of emotion or kind of concern for him. He paid the bills or whatever like that, but they never really saw him. He was like working or he was off doing something else or whatever, but he was back home or whatever. But so there can be as simple as that. It's just like he emotionally abandoned you, or it could be like, where he's verbally abusive and making you, belittling you and, telling you ain't shit or what have you like that. Both of those, any type of bad experience with a man will elicit some type of negative long-term effect. Mm-hmm. Like if your dad leaves, you got abandon issues. If your dad cheats on your mom, she got trust issues,
Would you say
everything's negative. That's what I'm saying. We can affect so many long-term issues. What'd you say?
I'm just wondering real quick. Would you say more if he left you but was there? Would that be worse than he never was there? abandoning,
you know what?
abandoning aspect.
I personally, okay, I was in a question. I personally think that it's worse than if he was never there, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because you can see there, and you can see the person, and you person can see you. So you're saying I'm here for some reason. I'm not enough where you can't even look at me or engage with me, and I'm standing right in front of you, and you can see the person and long for that person's attention and affection and protection and affirmation, but you just not getting it, and it makes you even feel worse about yourself than the because you just guessing if they gone. I'm like, oh, maybe it was me, well, maybe it wasn't. But if you see the person walking around not talking to you, then you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I'm right here.
Well, and see, but like that's where I guess I see it a little different because, like for instance, even though my marriage failed, I'm grateful that I had it. If I didn't have that, even though there was a lot of hell that came with that, and I blame me at the end of the day.
So you failed marriage. Your marriage didn't fail. You failed marriage.
Well, I mean, I think when a marriage fails, more of the because I'm the head, more of the onus is on me.
Yeah,
I'm not taking her accountability away because she has to deal, she has to deal with that as an individual. But just as a man, I say if it succeeds, it's my fault. If it fails, it's my fault. So I just take that accountability there. But I'm glad that I had it versus not ever having it at all.
I know we're talking about, but one thing, my thing is and I'm just gonna say this, and this is just a quick digress, is like, I don't like when people say marriage failed because the institution is there, and the institution is the setup to work if you work it. Right. It's like my first marriage, my first marriage, I failed my first marriage.
Yes,
and that's what it is because
100%.
Just like if you a parent and you have an asshole kid,
right?
Parenting, you didn't fail parenting. Parenting did. I mean, you failed parenting. Parenting didn't fail you,
right?
So I'm just saying. It's just like this is just a thing when people say my marriage failed. I'm like, no, because like I said, I failed my first marriage, and most people are failing the institution of marriage because I think it can work if you work it.
I agree.
But I digress.
Because I think I agree with you. I believe I failed my first marriage.
Yeah, I disagree with you guys.
Oh, go ahead.
Give a little pushback. I think you guys gotta blame the other person, man. We gotta stop with this accountability stuff.
Accountability stuff.
Just joking, if we will.
All right. I see you, Coach Shante, in the back. I'm gonna add you in at 8:00 on the dot when the other ladies are gonna jump on to be on the panel. But I see you in the back. I appreciate you for jumping on. We're gonna add you soon to the discussion. So, Milagros, good to see you in the live chat. I appreciate you guys. Definitely get the live chat popping. And let me read Cash Out Jack, broke Dusty, wants beef always. Pretend I'm not here. I'm still
What's up, Jack?
Damien. All right, shout out to you, Jack. Thank you for always donating to the channel. I wanted to ask you, fellas, just one of the things on that video that we responded to earlier. He was talking about things you could do in a date, especially if you're dating with intention, if you're dating with purpose to finding a wife, because that's the conversation that we're having today. You got to figure out a vetting process to figure out ways you can have a conversation to get the things that the information you kind of need to kind of see whether mental space is at. And I think that video was talking about, hey, you know what? Because we're talking about how important is a woman's relationship with her father when choosing a wife. He brought up in that video a question for the fellas you could ask, what, how did you grow up? You don't want to ask directly in a date, hey, was your father, how's your father, how's your relationship with your father? Was it positive? Was it negative? For a lot of women out there, that may be too forward or maybe too personal of a question, maybe on the first date. But there's what he just talked about, just ask him how was your childhood? How did you grow up? And then let her talk, and you can kind of make your judgment off that based on her answer and her attitude towards men, towards her dad. Was it positive? Was it negative? I just wanted to ask you guys, when you were what's up? I'm about to let you in, Stan. Good to see you. All right, what's up, Stan?
What's up, guys?
All right. But I want to ask you guys: was there subtle behaviors or things that women did when you were dating them, and then especially when it comes to the things that they said towards their dad that you kind of took a mental note. You know what? When she said this, when she had this attitude, or when she said these things, you kind of had based on your experience. You know what? It didn't turn out. It didn't turn out long term, or ended up being good relationships. And I think that's what the guy was saying. If you ask a woman, how was your childhood, and then her perspective when it comes to describing her father was always negative. What that guy on that video said, those relationships always failed, or it wasn't healthy. But then when you asked the question towards the girls, how was your relationship with your dad, and it was always positive and healthy. It was always a positive relationship. So, was there any specific questions or things that you saw, especially related to this topic, that you kind of noticed when you had the engagement with the conversations, especially when you're talking about your childhood, especially when you're talking about your upbringing, and especially when you're talking about your own father, with their father? Was there anything you saw, or any questions or things that you can kind of share right now on the panel for the young men who are watching this right now?
Yeah, I'm just go.
No, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, well, it necessarily doesn't have to be a question, or maybe a behavior that you saw that you kind of noticed, and something that they did, or it could be anything. But I just wanted to use an
Yeah,
example.
I would just say, whenever you talking about like how you grew up and stuff, ones that I would say that had a bad relationship with their father, it was almost like everything was kind of negative. How they kind of viewed, I'll say, the world, and just anything. Because even when they would describe them, it'd be real negative, and even I would ask about the mom, or siblings and stuff. They would even get wrapped into some of the negativity. So it seemed like that was the brush that everything was painted with, where it was like just a negative, background and stuff. So that's one thing I did notice with that.
Okay.
It wasn't almost like it was pinpointed on the father, but it was just like everything was was just bad. I'm like, damn, ain't nothing work out. You ain't have one happy moment. So yeah, that's one thing that popped in my mind with it.
I would like look at the engagement of the mother and the father. I mean, the mother and the daughter. If you're dating a daughter and she's going out, and then a vast majority of their conversation is how your other boyfriends wasn't shit, or just and the mom has a negative view of men, and the woman is kind of the girl you're dating is kind of like co-signing the stuff that she says. Do you know there's some underlying stuff that she's either suppressing to make you seem like she doesn't have any kind of animosity toward men, or she's not honest with herself about how she might really feel about men, and she's being honest with the mom. So you kind of got to how she engages with other people when it comes to the talk around men. That'll let you know what her true feelings are about men.
Okay. All right, Stan, do you want to add on? Thanks for jumping on, Stan. Always good to see you.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, man. I won't be able to stay too long because I gotta run back out again and go to work. Man, great topic, great show. I just want to share the perspective of like a single dad, because I'll say this: like dating women who didn't have good fathers is not a good match. Ones that do have fathers and you're a single parent, it works out. That's what I'm seeing in my own experience. They're more inclusive with the kids. They're more understanding, and they're more willing to blend. The other way around, I'm sorry, ladies, it's not personal, just my experience. It's like the kid don't exist. You get kind of jealous in the dynamic of the relationship, and it's like, yo, you're the adult. This is my child. Like, it don't work. I can't be your father as well. So that's been my experience.
You said something important. You added a good point there, is about the dating with kids or what have you. Then a woman will also know that she'll be able to recognize, appreciate a busy man, because when you're working, you got a kid, you're a busy man. She's seen a man be busy. If she had a good, In fact, when she's seen a man doing things and going out and going to work and what have you, so she doesn't take it. Wouldn't be like, well, why didn't you never explain to me? She would know that, oh, he's a man, got a kid, he's gonna be busy. So I'm not gonna take it personally.
So
and I'm
that you focus. I can't listen to the same stuff over and over again. Like, are we gonna fix this? We're not fixing this. That means you're not fixing it. I'm out. Like, I can't. Yeah. I'm sorry, ladies. I just can't do it. It's too much. But hey, Damon, I'm also like, I also have a sister, right? I would say this with the brother and sister dynamic. My sister is 3 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. You do have to allow yourself to grow up, because it's like, I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have to grow up. The thing between me and my sister, we're like twins. I let her know, like, yo, this didn't work out with her because of this. She'll let me know how things didn't work out with the dude that she was interested in. And then if there's somebody that we want to bring into the family, like my sister will screen them before they meet my mom, because that's a whole lot of levels on that one. But it's but it was good because a lot of times I think in the brother-sister dynamic, I kind of make it up because I'm not a sister. Because there's some stuff I can never do for my sister because, you know, she's the only girl. And luckily she got cousins that she can rely on, but we're the only ones here in California, so.
Well, you're a solid dude. So, like, but if you're an asshole, you could be the one that kind of curates her idea of what a man is going to do in a relationship.
Yeah.
But you got to you got to be a solid guy. If you like, an asshole could be having
push it with the solid guy stuff with Stan.
No, because my sister would tell me, she'll be like, oh, you know, she's a bitch. Like, because my sister's she's the middle one, so I'll be too nice, and she's like, nah, at least my sister, she can see girl talk, and like she can sense stuff that I don't see, and that was a good thing about my sister's relationship. She's not in my dating relationship all the time. I have to, like, you know, because it's like, I need my space, but all that to say, a lot of times with brothers and sisters. And especially like if you only have like that one sister and there's more boys in the family, you do kind of like, you want to make it up for your sister to make it feel like, you know what I'm saying, she's being heard and understood and you're on her side. That's for me.
All right. Thank you so much.
What's up, ladies?
What's going on, ladies? Good to see you guys. Hi. Tilly, Jasmine, good to see you back again. And Coach Shante. Did I say that correctly? I didn't want to mispronounce.
Yep, you said it correctly, Shante.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you for jumping on. First time here on the pod. Thank you for making the time. Let me just read a super chat real quick. Primacio said, I'm trying to have a stand night locked in a room. And she. Thank you so much, Joe, for the super chat. I do appreciate you guys. But ladies, thank you for jumping on, making the time, you know, adding the female perspective. We're having a very important conversation tonight, and the topic where we're going to be discussing, and this is something I saw that kind of went semi-viral online, but how important is a woman's relationship with her father when choosing a wife? So this is more of a topic that I saw that a lot of men were talking about. You know, if you're looking for a wife, if you're looking for somebody you want to commit to, have children with, it's very important to see her dynamic of her relationship with her father, because that's oftentimes it determines her relationship with you. So a lot of times, if your relationship is negative, you're going to have a very difficult time dealing with her. If she has a positive relationship with her father, it's much going to be a better connection with her, especially the quality of the relationship. So, you know, ladies, I don't know if some of you guys, your experiences when it comes to your father, or some of you guys have children as well. I don't know that, but I would like to hear the female perspective. What do you guys think about that topic? You know, how important it is for a woman's relationship with her father if a man's going to consider making you a wife. Do you agree? Is it important? It's not important. I would like to hear what you have to say from your lens. Let me start with you, Jasmine. What do you think?
I would think it's important to a point, only because certain people, like when they don't know, as they get older and they are missing that piece of like their dad, sometimes they hold trauma in that area. And so it often like, they push it on to that other person that they're with. So yeah. In that aspect, it's important. But
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jasmine. I'll pass it to you, Tuli. Tuli, what do you think? You know, do you think it's important for a man to, if you're choosing a wife, to kind of consider her relation, to find out her relation with her father?
As someone who didn't grow up with their father, the irony that we're talking about this, I was just having this conversation with my mom. I think it is important to have a positive male role model in your life, especially as a girl or growing up, because you do need to know certain values and morals that you may not be aware of. And I feel like a man is what instills that, and what I see in relationships, with fathers that are present, and just the value and the self-worth that girl has, knowing that she comes from this place. So I do think it is important, and from my own experiences, I definitely do.
All right. Thank you so much, Tuli. I'll pass it to you, Coach. Coach, what do you think, Coach?
As a daddy's girl, I think it's important, but I'll have to agree with Jasmine to an extent. Like, it is important because my dad taught me how to be a lady from a man's perspective. Of course, my mom taught me how to be a woman, but my dad taught me how to be a lady in terms of these are the standards that a respectable woman has, and these are traits that you have that a man will respect. So then it's like, so with that, it's like, okay, if a man will be able to recognize me as a woman, not just any man, but a man of standard, of values, and a like-minded individual. So so I felt like that carried with me even to today. So then it was just like, I realized I didn't probably go through as much things or situations as maybe younger girls growing up, like maybe some things that they would have went for that I'm like, no, or the I love yous, and it's like, no, I think it's puppy love type of thing. So it's like, for me, it helped. But I say in terms of a relationship, to an extent, because then when you're in a relationship, like, yes, it's important to know where each person is coming from, and kind of like their background, to understand what shapes their, what plays a role and shapes their thinking and how they interact with other people. But then it's also that thing of, as adults, we have to say, hey, this is what I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up with a dad, didn't have a positive male role model and things like that, and be able to have those conversations and then discuss expectations. Like, okay, I didn't have this, and I may not know what to expect out of a man, but like, hey, I'm willing to try. But, or even say, hey, I don't have this experience, but these are my expectations. And then just be able to have a mature conversation around if those are standards versus unrealistic expectation, because then we get into the whole standard things. And so then I just think when it's around that, evaluating it, definitely for the man. And since I won't even say in the woman, because this topic is more so for the man, but just for the man to be able to evaluate that, and then also point out some things. Well, hey, I noticed that, when I go do this or do that, your response is this. Why is that? And just be able to open up just to see where their thinking is, and then possibly say, well, hey, if we're going to work, this is what you need to work on. This is what I need to work on, and then be able to move forward from that. And if you can, you can. And if you can't, then it's moving on.
I want to ask
Go
Tulia a
ahead.
question, because
Yep.
she says you grew up without a male role model. Who do you remember who affirmed what a good man should be and how they should move and how they be act? Did you have somebody to affirm that? Because I think a lot of times in relationships, your mom can tell you what a good man will do. Your dad will show you and affirm, yeah, these are the things. He'll be like, yeah, good man gets up and works and take care of his family. Look at your dad. That's what he does every day. Did you have that part of your life where the good thing where men were affirmed? So how do you develop a good image of men? There's nobody there affirming the positive things that men can do in your life.
Great question.
To be honest, I had my older brother, and I saw how he moved. I saw how he spoke, how he carried himself. And so that kind of set the standard for me that, okay, the man that I date, I want him to be just like my brother, because to me, my brother is the perfect man. You know, he has his flaws, everybody does, but the way he communicates, the way he speaks, the way he carries himself, you know, there's all these qualities. However, when, you know, we're a few years apart, so when he moved on to the next stages in his life, I'm still trying to find guys that are like my brother, and I'm not finding that. I'm finding the men that I grew up or I was exposed to more, which is more toxic, you know, more red flags that it would take me a little bit longer to be like, this isn't the type of relationship that I should be in. Like, I know I deserve better, but it would take a while for me to see that. So that's, again, why I say I think it is important for a male to be in a little girl's life in a positive way.
All right. Jasmine, I'm curious. I don't know your situation, but did you have somebody that affirmed like the positives and the value of men in your life?
I would say now I do, now that I'm older. I guess when I was younger, I don't know. I just feel like you're able to distinguish right from wrong when you see something being done. And I'm not trying to sound like, oh, I got like the answers or whatever. But when I was younger and I saw someone being mistreated by a guy, I just knew that like, okay, that's not something I want to go for. And then now that I'm older, yes, I can like call my dad if I got a question about a guy, like, oh, like he said this, what do you think I should do or this situation? So yeah, now that I'm older, I have that. But when I was younger, it was more of just like distinguishing right from wrong. And is that how I want to be treated? And it was just a yes or no. And so I hope that answers the question.
Not quite. Now you're almost there, but not quite. I'm more focused on like, as you're growing up, did you have somebody that you could look to and be like, okay, I can see a man being positive and a man showing value to his family and being important in my life? Did you have that to view? Because I already know Coach Shantae's number. She just said she's a daddy girl, so her dad was there doing the damn thing. That's why I didn't ask you. I'm asking you, Jasmine, did you have somebody that you could look to and say, okay, I see the value of a man consisting in my life, and the father figure, I should say, in my life, because he's there for me. He's affirming all the good things that I should think about a man.
Okay, I'll say yes to that. My sister's dad, my stepdad growing up, I'll say he was that person.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did he do?
Let's see, I was like 8 when he came into our lives. But from then on, like everything was just my mom was a lot happier. We just did a lot more, family outings. Before that, I don't think I really had any like memories or good memories before that. So I just know like when he came around, things definitely did like a 180, and they were just like very positive. And then I just saw how he treated my mom. And so, yeah.
That answered it. There you go. And Coach Shantae, what was some of the things that your dad did consistently that why you so proudly proclaim yourself as a daddy's girl right now?
Well, I would definitely say my dad is one of my biggest supporters and always has been, speaking life into me, telling me how capable I am, that I can accomplish anything. And he always had these philosophies. And like as a kid, I definitely didn't really appreciate them. But as an adult, I found myself telling them to my kids. So then it's just like those things. And we always had our daddy-daughter dates. So it was kind of like, that was a consistent thing where whether we were going to the movies or just even out to eat. He made it a big deal to be like, hey, this is how you deserve to be treated. And it's not just the money or, the financials or spending money. It's more about the time, the quality time. So it's like, okay, you deserve to not just be cooped up in the house, but someone taking you, having experiences, creating memories with you, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Great answer.
Will, can I ask a question to the panel?
Of course. Go ahead, Jerk.
Do you guys think like dads can be enablers to bad behavior?
Shit, yeah. I got a 13-year-old daughter that I feel, she gets away with murder when it comes to me for the most part.
I agree. I think that they can, because like I'm just now resurfacing on social media and things like that, probably within the last going on 3 years. So like I see a lot of different kind of things happening around like dating, men, women, all of these things. And so then when it comes to like the talk of women looking for men, and that's why I made sure to elaborate on my daddy taking me out to eat, and it not being about the quality or of the restaurant or the quantity of the meal, but more so about the experience, because I do see women like, oh, well, if we're not going to a 5-star restaurant and blah, 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 don't take me because I only eat 5 stars.
Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah. So then it'll be like, oh, well, my dad, and well, did your daddy take you? Yes, my dad did take me. So that's why I only eat 5-star. So then it creates, like, without explaining, if you're just doing things with a child and you're not adding on the lesson behind it or explaining it, then they develop their own understanding for a situation. So now they're having these great experiences with their dad, but the dad is not really explaining that. So now it's the expectation that I am worthy for you to spend all your hard-earned money on, and you get whatever I'm willing to give in return. So, so just to go back to answering your question, sophisticated, dads can be enabler if we're not making sure that they're understanding the lesson and the moral behind whatever we're teaching. Then they can still take that in, but develop their own unreasonable sense of understanding of what the teaching was.
But they look at you with those sad little eyes and they say, please. I'm spending money.
Yeah, it's funny because I said this. I was like, I feel bad for the guy that's going to try to date my daughter, because I said, I'm going to wait for this. Anytime she goes out, I'm going to wait for this. I'm going to wait there. Get the hell out of my car. I'll be like, oh, my baby's home. She's going to be all bougie and stuck up. That's what I want.
Wow. Hey, I have
you gotta be careful with that though.
I'm just joking.
But that's really, what happens in some kind of ways to where then it's still a balance. Like, okay, you say these are your standards, these are your expectations, but then we have to talk about what's compromisable. We have to talk about what are wants versus needs. And so then it's important for them to know that, because then it's like, man, now we have females out here that's talking about they only want 6-figure earners, but they don't even earn 6 figures. So then it's just kind of those things where you're having these high expectations and standards that you yourself have yet to live up to, but you expect that out of a partner. And so now we're seeing more females like that emerge.
I gotta give Coach.
So hearing all this, they might be better off with a bad father, because they mess around have a father like Dame and Stan down there. The expectations gonna be. No, I'm joking.
Well, I'm like this, and this is something that my shout out to my homegirl Sada Khan said. She was like, I'm not raising. I wouldn't say I'm raising. Somebody once on the panel say, "Oh, you might be raising a gold digger." I'm like, no. If she grew up with gold, she's just it's what she's accustomed to.
Yeah,
and it's not. And I'm not gonna front her of saying because she's accustomed to nice stuff. I'm not gonna let a dude Miami and Vegas stay way into my daughter's life. They're gonna have to really show her some shit, Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
And sadly, my daughter always go to Miami and Vegas. That's and she only 12. She already know how to get on the plane and like she know all this stuff. I don't know what to tell you. Like it's for me growing up, I had to get in this habit because I'm from the islands. Like I can't make apologies on how I grew up just because I didn't grow up like everybody else. And that's how I'm teaching her, because everybody's making fun of her. But it's not that you're spoiled. It's just our family is so spread out, and we are blessed to go see people and travel. because for her, she's not growing up with her cousins. We grew up with cousins, so we make it special for the summer that she goes, to Miami and be with all the, people from the islands and do all the island stuff in the summertime. Because when she come back to the West Coast, it's like, go ahead and wear your scarf and your hat and your coat because it's cold and ain't no back to school. So for a lot of people, it look like it's spoiling, but for me, it's like, I feel like I'm making it up because she's not having the same childhood I got.
But also, isn't that why we work hard and do what we do to make sure we're providing better for our kids, no matter whatever our circumstances were? We could have had a great upbringing, be very financial, but the goal is always to be better so that you can do better for your kids. So I don't think it's a matter of apologizing in them having high standards. It's just making sure that we're adding that teaching in, because without it, like, the kids learn the most when it's unconscious or subconscious teaching. So they pay more attention to they pay more attention to what we do than versus what we say.
Right.
So then it's just like, you just got to follow up and be like, okay, this is happening because I worked so hard so you can have these things, not for you to make other people feel bad type of thing. And not saying that that's the case there, Stanley, but just giving an example.
Yeah, because her friends make fun of her because, like, she's always traveling. But I'm like, yo, like, your father and your grandmother are divorced, so you have to go see your grandfather across the country when it's his time to see. But I agree with your teachable moments, because there's she's in this, like, I want a pet, and I saw, like, one of these shelter dogs. One of them was like $3,000. I'm like, I thought this was a pound. How a dog from the pound costs $3,000? This is a refurbished dog. So, and then she like, cancel your credit card. I had to explain to her, I'm like, look, you understand that we buy this dog, that we can't get all the nice things you got now, like shoes, when you need it, when you play sports, you have to come straight home and take care of it. So it's like, I have to say these things so she understood, like, when I tell her no, there's a reason I tell her no. Like, she's like, I want a sibling. I'm like, okay, you understand that you're about to be in 7th grade. You're not going to care about nobody in this house in another year. Yeah. That sibling going to be my responsibility. And I'm like, no.
Thank you so much, Stanley. Let me just pass it real quick to Phil. And Phil, you had a quick question you want to ask. And then after Phil, I have a video I want to react to that's related to the topic. Go ahead, Phil.
Sure. So I just want to let's say a couple of different ones. I'm gonna say chicken back. I ain't gonna say piggyback. I'm gonna say chicken back off of Dame's question from earlier. I want to get the perspective of the ladies. So would you say having a bad father versus having no father at all, would a bad father be something that you could say, well, I'm gonna be the opposite of him, or the opposite of what he's done? I want that. Is that teachable by seeing wrong or not having a father? And I would first say with, the how do you say her name? The young lady in the middle.
Tuli,
Miss Tuli. So that being that you didn't have one, a father, I believe you said. So, to you first, I guess, how does that dynamic look?
I think for me, growing up, I would see like my friends, and you have Father's Day, so I would see their bond, and I would want that. As I got older and just building more relationships and connecting with people, I would hear stories where their fathers were in and out of their lives and how much damage it did. So I would start looking at it like, maybe my father not being in my life was actually a blessing in disguise, because from what I've heard, he isn't, I'll show up my mouth on that part, but he's not present, right? And so because he's not present, maybe it's a blessing for me, because if he was in my life, would it actually been more detrimental to me and my growth and development versus from the stories I hear and just it's, to me, it's sad what I hear some people go through when their dads are in their lives, but they're not present, so they'll make plans with them, but they don't show up, or they put them on the back burner. And I look at that and I'm like, I don't think I would want to feel that. Like, it's almost better if he's not there, because you can't miss what you've never had. And so that's why I look at my brother and I'm like, okay, I'm thankful for that role model, because he was a positive male role model and he was consistently in my life as that. So I think between the two, I think it's better. Yeah. I from what I've seen with people who do have some sort of relationship, I see a lot of trauma and a lot of hurt, and they feel like abandoned or neglected, or they don't matter. And for me, I never really had those feelings. It was more of a question of, why isn't he there? But it wasn't like I miss him, or I wanted him to be in my life. So
All right.
that answers that.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Tuli. Thank you, Phil, for the question. So, I want to play this video. It was actually something that Coach was talking about. You were breaking it down in detail. So, good thing you brought it up, because it's actually related to the video I'm about to play right now. So, I'm gonna play it real quick, and then I'll come back to the ladies to get your reaction and your perspective. And I'll pass it back to the fellas. And I see William Graves in the live chat. Hey, good to see you, William. And Prudy, good to see you in the live chat. Let me know what you guys think on the live chat. And don't be a ninja watcher. I see some of you guys are already watching, so don't be creeping on my channel. Finally come out and say something. But don't forget, it's a public show, so if you do want to jump on, the link is in the description. Click on that link and be able to jump on. But let me play this video real quick, and let me know what you guys think. Okay, there it is. Okay, there we go.
Who is madly in love with her dad. Like, her daddy can do no wrong in her eyes. Have you guys ever paid attention to how they talk about the man they want versus the one who didn't have the ideal circumstance for their fathers?
Yep.
Their expectations are completely different. It ain't even about money. It's never even about money with them.
Yep.
Those girls that have that type, they say, I want a hardworking
Man.
right? They're not saying they need a man that makes 6 figures. I need a hardworking man.
Yep.
I need a man that come home every single night.
Yep.
Right? I need a man that prioritizes his wife and his kids before his friends and anybody else.
Yeah.
I need a man who is in line with God, who believes in being a spiritual leader in that household. I need a man who is not afraid to do anything and everything that needs to be done to take care of this family and this household. His ego is not too big to be at the daddy-daughter dance and make sure that he's holding his girl. Right? He's not too masculine to be soft when it's time to be soft. He's not afraid to stand up when he needs to stand up. He's not afraid of danger. And even if he is afraid of danger, he has the courage to face it.
Yeah.
The things that they look for are completely different.
Yeah.
But the women who didn't have that, the very first two things you'll hear out their mouth, he got to be making some good money and he got to provide everything for me.
All right. So that was a video, the clip. All right. So, he was talking about his experience with women who had a good, healthy father figure and women who didn't. And he was just saying that when he dealt with women who had a strong, masculine, healthy male figure, their standards were more realistic and more healthy compared to dealing with women who didn't have a father at all, or maybe had a bad father, because their standards were completely unrealistic, and it had nothing to do with the makeup of a good, strong man with good character and good qualities. So, and of course, Coach, you already talked about it before, but there is a trend online. I do see, Tuli, Jasmine, I don't know if you see it, but there's a lot of women saying, I need my man to make 6 figures. And that's one of the requirements for him to be a father. If you want to be, if you want Zad, what's that I see online? When a man has makes a lot of money, and then women will comment zaddy vibes or something, zaddy, if you're making 6 figures, that's zaddy right there, so that's their standard today. I've heard that a lot of women, that's the standard that women require for a man to come into their life. But he said that he made a great point. It was more of the quality of the character of a man, not the external accomplishments of that man. So I know, Coach, you talked about it a little bit before, but I'll pass it back to the ladies. What's your reaction to that video? Women having more realistic, healthy standards with the good father figure, and then women who don't have a father, they tend to have unrealistic, unhealthy standards. Let me pass it to you, Jasmine. What's your reaction to that video? What do you think?
I think it's true, and I agree with what the guy in the video was saying. It's like very telling when you ask a person like, "What are you looking for?" and it's like the first thing that comes out of their mouth. And sometimes people will sit there and say like, "Oh, I want a guy who makes like 6 figures because that's what I'm used to." But I don't know. It's kind of like I feel like if you're used to something, then you don't really have to speak on that thing. It's just gonna come, or if it's not there for you, you'll just remove yourself. You like speaking on it and making it a whole thing because you're not used to that. It's almost like those people who flash money, like they're not used to that, so that's why they're like, look at me, like, so yeah, I agree with him in the video. All right.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jasmine. I just want to say something. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but a lot of women say like, I want my man to make 6 figures, but hey, I mean, your daddy didn't even make 6 figures, so like, why you asking?
Will,
be humble like your mama.
where'd I come from, Will?
I'm just saying that
Amen.
The math, the math is not there. Like you didn't experience 6 figures, but you're asking me to
those unrealistic expectations.
Yeah,
I'm
just saying.
Definitely know anything.
I just have to be present first. Let's start there. Let's start there before we go on.
Exactly.
I'll say one thing real quick. I heard someone say today, I was watching like a YouTube video, and he was saying how a lot of women don't want to go 50-50 with a man, but when it comes to like divorce, they want 50-50 of like,
that is a good point right there.
All right. Yeah, that's a good point, Jasmine. So
I might have to use that in some further.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah, I'm going to use that. I'm gonna steal that, Jasmine. I'm gonna steal that. I might clip
borrow it.
that.
I'll give it back. I'll give it back.
Make that as a short.
Shout out to Pendel. He's the one that said it.
All right, but I see you, Marley. You gave it back. Marley, December Vlogs. Hey, good to see you in the live chat. I appreciate you. But let's get that live chat active. But I'll keep it moving. I'll pass it to you, Tuli. Tuli, what do you think? What's your reaction to that clip? Healthy standards, unhealthy standards. What do you think?
I think for me personally, growing up without a father, what I would look for in a partner was someone that respected me, was someone that knew how to treat me because of what I didn't grow up with. So what I was exposed to a lot was more disrespect towards women. And so that was the bar that's set for me. Like, that's not what I want. That's not what I deserve. And it was never about like, oh, you need to come with this materialistic wise. It was more like, I need a man of God. I need someone that has some sort of faith, and then also to respect me and be willing to work through the traumas that I've been through and be empathetic towards that. It was never about, you got to drive this and have that. Like, I've never been into that. So when I hear women on, like Coach said, on these videos and the expectations they have, I then think, well, what are you bringing to the table to have those expectations? Like, are you already there and that's why? Or is it that you just broke and you don't have anything and you're not bringing anything, even spiritually, and your personality and who you are as an individual, but you got a list of, all these traits and qualities that you want? Like, are you being realistic? So, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Tuli. Just to respond, Tuli, you said that, what do you bring to the table? I've heard this online. A lot of women would say, I am the table. I am.
Jasmine, because she said it.
I feel like it takes two, though, with anything. Like, we how about we both be the table, like not one, not you, but we're both bringing something. We both eat together. We both break bread. Like, That's how I see it should be.
All right, no worries. Thank you so
I
much
have
for sharing
heard
that,
that
Julie.
too.
Definitely a good perspective, Tilly. Thank you so much. But we'll keep it moving. Coach, what's your breakdown of that clip? What do you think?
All right. So first, I want to go back to that table thing. But then when you ask them what it means, I don't think they can even tell you. Is that that's why they are the table, because that was the best line. But I agree with what everything he was saying. Like I married young, was widowed young, so it's just like for me it was never about any of that. Like I definitely look for those qualities. Like I'm very much loved by my dad. Like he'll tell people that's my best friend, and things like that. But it's just like it was always about the love and the respect. And first, he had to make sure that I knew and had that for myself, so that anyone that was looking to court me would automatically see it, that like, hey, you have to come correct type of thing. But yeah, it's the love, like the money, the things like that is like great. Having an income, we all need it. That's great. But that's not the deciding factor. Like both my parents made it a thing, especially my dad. If I can't do for you, if you can't get it from your mama, you don't need it. So then it was like the growing up, you had the boys that'll be like, oh, I got this, and this, or, the one standing on the corner, oh, I got those new best of both worlds, J's and Mike's. That's nice. And it's just like, and you keep moving, because again, we don't have anything to talk about. Like you can't buy me, you can't slow me down for the money, because it's coming in. Like, hey, dad, I need this. And as a grown woman, and even as a, married woman before I was widowed, that was just always what I resorted to. Like, hey, I'm still gonna, make sure my husband's giving me something, but it's just out of habit. I'm gonna be like, dad, slip me a few dollars, type of thing, But I'm gonna make sure he doesn't know, because I don't want him to feel, disrespected or feel any type of way. But that's my dad. Like, daddy, it's my birthday, and so and those things. But it's just like, it's not about that. It's about the love, the care, the same way my dad loves me, but not saying the same way, but the amount of love, that he has for me. I want to feel that and more from a spouse. I want to know that I am loved by whomever I'm with. So I agree with him.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach. Appreciate it. Thank you, ladies. Let me pass it to the fellas. Damien, what's your reaction to that video? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's to piggyback up. I'm going to say something. I'll react to that video in a second, but something like, Tuli, the stuff you're saying got me thinking about a bunch of shit. So it's just one of the things I think that's so important that you kind of highlighted, and I think Coach did as well. It was like, when a woman is leaving the house, if she's had like a good male role model or a good relationship with her father, they go through less shit trying to figure out what's right for them and what's good and what's beneficial to a healthy relationship. Because you see it, you say, okay, wait a minute, because some women be like, oh, he never calls me, or he disappears for days and stuff like that. My dad never disappeared for days, and he always was there. He was also, so that's something wrong. I'm not dealing with that. A woman who never had that was like, okay, what's wrong with me that the person is disappearing for days and not calling me and stuff like that? They don't realize that good guys don't do that type of shit, and that's the thing. It's just like you walk out with a lot more ammunition to try to like filter through bullshit when you've got a good father figure to kind of show you what's the value and show you what good men do. I think a lot of times if you don't, you have to go through so much bad shit to realize like, oh my God, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. Okay. I've had all these bad experiences that's going to help me formulate my ideal good experiences. And I think a good father helps mitigate that to where you don't have to go through the bullshit to recognize, the good shit, and I think you kind of highlighted that. And just to go back to the video. Yeah, I 100% agree. It's like, that kind of is what I was stating earlier. It was like a woman who's had a good relationship with her father, their focus is on things that they identified as valuable to a family, as opposed to them they identify things that's valuable to them individually. Having money, having a nice car, having a nice purse is something that's beneficial to them individually. have a guy who's hardworking, attentive, nurturing, loving, inspirational. It's good for the family holistically. And I think that's the difference between the two. And I think that's what he was highlighting in the video.
All right. Thank you so much, Damien. I'll pass it to you, Stanley. Stanley, what do you think? What's your reaction to that video?
Video is great. Yeah, he spoke some truth, man. It's years of dating, you see it, and it's like, I'm sorry, ladies that don't have fathers. It's hard to date women who don't have fathers. It's just, yeah, it's hard. It's just hard, and it's like it's hard for me because like I know I'm like everybody like I'm a good guy, but there's a point of it like I just want a relationship. I can't also be your dad because I'm already a dad. So I just need you to be my girl. So I get it. But I struggle with it because that's not something I want to deal with all the time. But I understand like it's needed. But then there's like to one point the relationship is going to be where I'm case managing the relationship as opposed to actually growing in the relationship. So sometimes that's like a struggle.
Yeah.
And it's nobody's fault. It's just something that we don't talk about a lot. And there's no books for it. And, and you left with God and try to figure things out and do a lot of patchwork.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stanley. Are you talking more about women who have like daddy issues? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. But also I'm going to say this is also for men too, because for like the guys, me and my friends, we talk about it. I've noticed my friends has mother issues. They're dealing with women, not out of love, but scared of abandonment. And this woman is so much a motherly figure for them that they're not going to leave, no matter how detriment that relationship is. She can be physically or whatever. But they're not going to leave because their own mother already left. They don't have a mother. And so whatever woman that's there in their life, they either going to get her pregnant, try to have an anchor baby. And that's what we call it, is the anchor babies. And it's like get her, 2 or 3 babies so she don't leave. So now you have a relationship because this the mother that you never had. You fighting with your kids for juice cups and fruit snacks. And it's like... And I had one friend, like if his wife feeds him, he clap his hands like he's a toddler. And I'm like, dude, you're 40, stop. But, that's his mindset. Like he never had a mom. And it's, for men, like those father figures and mother figures, I mean, when we look at dating, we're really going to have to look deep into that and talk about those things because a lot of times we just brush it underneath the rug and that's it. And people are left alone to deal with it.
Yeah. I just had a mental picture of that. I was like, damn. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Stanley. But I'll pass it to you. Honey Dreads, I see you in the live chat. Hey, good to see you, Honey Dreads. I appreciate you. Yeah, definitely jump on if you have some time and join the panel. But pass it to you, Phil. Phil, what's your reaction to that clip?
All positive. I mean, he definitely laid out in a pretty concise and clear way the good things, the positive attributes of having a good father, and he did a very good job of articulating that. I agree with everything he said because what Stanley said there about not having a father and dating women without good fathers or having fathers, it has definitely been a struggle, and I can see the struggle. But I can also see it, just to kind of throw a little. I can see it in the men as well, when it comes to men that has not had fathers. I mean, I can see it. They attach to certain toxicity, if you will, and will just fester in it instead of knowing how to release it because they grew up in that toxicity and they just like, well, hey, I stuck it out in the house that I grew up in. I might as well stick it out with the woman that I'm with. So it's all around bad.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Does anybody want to respond to anybody or any question? I have a question with somebody.
I do want to
Go
respond.
ahead.
I would say just kind of like going back to those mommy and daddy issues where Stanley mentioned that like, hey, he can't be your dad. And this like I was just talking with someone about this today, like the whole going back to women, like the, I can't raise a man and things like that. And I feel like when people are coming together, these are definitely, everything that we're talking about are definitely conversations that you should be having in the first few weeks of talking to people, kind of understanding the background. And it's like, okay, well, hey, you didn't experience that, but what do you feel you need from a relationship? What are you looking at, or looking to accomplish in a relationship, looking for in a relationship? Because a lot of people don't even know what their long-term goals are within their own personal life. So if you don't know what your long-term life goals are, you may not know what you want in a relationship. So then it has to be those conversations had. And I don't think it's so much as I can't be your dad or I can't be your mom. It's more so we still have to take the time to teach each other how to treat each other in a relationship, because dating one woman is not the same as dating another woman. And we have to step away from that idea that we can just treat everybody the same. You have to take that time to know what works with this person, and if you're even willing to put in the time for what that person needs. But then it's also that, just having those realistic conversations about it.
Okay.
Can I ask a question to Coach? How much was your father involved in your husband, the union of you and your husband?
So that's an interesting story. So I would say, in a sense, I met my husband when we were 12 type of thing. So again, just based off of how my daddy raised me, at 12, he knew he was going to marry me type of thing. So it's just like, and that's different, but it's just like, so behind the scenes, just with the teaching and the upbringing, my dad had a lot he had a lot of hand in it, whether he realized it or not. Then as we, got older, because again, we're young. So it's like, as we're adults, it's kind of like, oh, well, hey, who is this person? It's like, oh, this is going to be my husband type of thing, But then it's like getting to know. But I think for, my dad was still involved. He was still like, hey, this is my daughter and things like that. But because of the amount of love I have for my dad, my husband also knew to like, hey, this her dad, this her hero, I got to come correct. And I not only, not just with her, but also, with him, because he means so much to her that I have to make sure that we have a good relationship type of thing. So, but yeah, so I would say more so just behind the scenes in terms of the upbringing than he knew. Like when it came to my relationship and my marriage, I tried to keep everybody out as much as possible, because again, we're trying to operate out of the Bible. Man and woman come together, they become one union. Everybody else become a little bit secondary. Just go ahead, step back. Now, love my daddy, love my parents, but nobody's gonna tell us what a marriage look like when I haven't seen a healthy one. Now, and again, love my daddy, great father, but we talking about relationships. So here, this is uncharted territory, and I'm not looking to take suggestions. So, so yeah, so it was, and it was different, but we got to, just grow into that. And so again, married at 21, widowed by 29. So again, I'm just a different breed. So it's just like, I have these experiences as a young age than other people around me. So.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach. And yeah, Honey Dreads, you're asking for the link on the live chat. There you are. Okay. Hey, what's going on, Honey Dreads? Hey, good to see you.
Hi.
All right. Yeah. Before I had a question, I had a question for the entire panel, so anybody can respond. We were talking about data issues. I just want to ask you guys, based on your experience of what you see with other women, what were some of the daddy issues that you kind of identified in your experience that you noticed? You know what? That's a problem. This is a symptom of having daddy issues. you kind of notice for yourself? No, not for yourself, but from with other women, or maybe your conversations with women when they talk about their relationships. What was those daddy issues that people often identified? For the guys out there, and also for the women, for the women themselves. I think sometimes people don't really have that self-awareness to kind of identify their own internal issues. I think I just want to ask you guys as a panel, for people who are watching just right now, and maybe they know that they have some issues, but they can't identify it because it's so normal for them. They're just living their day-to-day life, and they're just they think what their relationship is normal, even though it may be toxic from looking from the outside in. But if you just ask the panel real quick, the fellas and ladies, what were those symptoms of daddy issues that you commonly saw in your conversations with people?
I saw the jealousy. It was like almost like you're not the peer. So for me, single dad, right?
Yeah.
The jealousy of my daughter and my relationship with her is not the same I have with you. We're dating. This is a child. You can't compare it. That's a boundary. I have to put like, no, this is not healthy. This is not okay. Also the cleanliness, which I understand because it's attachment styles, right? So okay, I always tell people I'm from the islands. I'm Haitian. We're not affectionate people, right? It's just not gonna happen, right? It's like my mother, even dealing with us as kids, she gave us a box. Everybody had a box. My brother's autistic. Go play in your box. You got stuff in there, figure it out. I need my break. That's the type of childhood I had growing up. They're not affectionate. So
that's island love right there.
So when someone is too affectionate and they're clingy, I had to learn, take a deep breath, count to 3, and ask like, what do you need? Because I need this. But also realize I'm in the relationship. But if it's too much, then I realize, okay, this is something from a parent and I can't provide it. And just so people can understand, like I work as a social worker, so I see things a lot different. So because of that, it does impact my dating, because if I feel like I'm dating a client, I'm grossed out and I gotta dump you. And it's sad, but like it's one of those things. Nobody tell us as social workers how this field is going to ruin your life. So
okay.
So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Stanley. Anybody just want to throw it out there? Things that you saw that was you kind of identified for when you see other people that that may be an issue that rooted from your lack of having a father present in your life.
Trust,
lack of trust issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
That trust, and like also like testing. How do I say, it's like testing
the boundaries.
Someone likes you, or how much they love you, or if they love you, it's like more. And then it's not like I guess it's more of like a mental test, like, oh, if they do this thing, okay, they really like me, or they love me,
Yeah.
I've come to learn, it's not necessarily fair to do that, for lots of reasons.
Yeah, they put a lot more hurdles for men to go through just to get
hurdles. Hurdles.
Yeah. We discussed that earlier in the pod. We kind of broke that down. Yeah. Oftentimes when you deal with women who have trust issues because of the lack of the father in their life, they make it hard for you to build an emotional connection. And you could be doing everything right. You could be doing everything right as a man, but you still feel distant. They create that distance with you, and I think that for me that often repelled me, because I need reciprocity. I need to feel like my efforts I'm putting in is reciprocated, especially from an emotional connection. A lot of times when you deal with, from my experience, with women who don't have a father, they can be very cold sometimes emotionally.
And Will, in therapy, what we teach people is the gratitudes, because if people don't know how to be thankful and see the goodness that they receive each day, they can't do what you ask them to do, because they can never see it.
Yeah.
It's like they're always living in that state of trauma. It's always like something's going to be taken away from me. So it's always good for everybody, like, to always be thankful. Like 3 things easy, and just be thankful every day for it, and pick something else tomorrow. but because by then you'll notice like, oh,
Hmm.
you know what, you're a good friend. Thank you for giving me coffee. I didn't, like appreciate this, or thank you for picking me up. It becomes so like because a lot of times we're blocking things that we don't want to get hurt.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Fair enough. Thank you so much. Anybody want to add on real quick?
I would say, oh, go ahead, lady.
You sure? Okay. Yeah. So then I would say just kind of like that whole idea of just saying that, men ain't S and all of that stuff. And it's just like when you quick to just group of everybody into one category, like not only is that daddy issues, but that's just trauma stemming from also the kind of relationships that you've invited yourself into. And then it's also that thing of like, I feel like a lack of awareness of self-respect, like the understanding of what self-respect is. And to me I feel like that stems from not having someone to tell you and say, hey, this is what self-respect looks like. Like, no, we can't go out just, you can just go out wearing anything and showing anything, but also understand that you're going to get a reaction. And it may be the immediate reaction you're looking for, but it's not going to be the long-term reaction. So an ideal man is not going to want to walk down the street with somebody with everything out, because now this man might have to fight somebody if somebody look or say something the wrong way. And a lot of times people not looking to do that because a man will get killed behind a woman. so it's just a lot. Is those things, and it's kind of like, hey, you don't have to be exposed to be beautiful. You can feel beautiful and still be covered up. And not saying you have to be a nun, but I still believe in, save some for the imagination and things like that. But then understanding that there are, there are certain is levels to everything, levels to a certain type of woman, levels to a certain type of man. So again, the way you dress, you'll attract what you'll attract what you don't want. And so then it's kind of like, well, why am I not finding good guys or this, that? And this may not be for everybody, but again, it's one location. Where are you located at? And then also your appearance, because where you're located at and how you look and will attract what you want and probably don't want. So it's a lot of that. It's just walking in your elegance and in your grace without having to expose much. Like your beauty, your who you are will stand out. And sometimes you just gotta let what's in speak louder than what's on the outside.
Hey, Coach Shanti, as a man, I gotta tell you this: no nuns is safe from these eyes. That's all I'm gonna say.
I respect that. But see, I bet you imagining though. I bet you like, oh yeah,
that's men. That's how men are made.
Nah, hey,
but ladies, cover it up. It's like Christmas for us. Just cover it up. It's like Christmas.
But aren't you more intrigued? You like, man, I bet I know what's under that.
Exactly. The more it's covered, the more it leads to the imagination, and the more it gives you the ability to actually have one, right? In imagination. So, but to just to kind of add to your point a little bit there, Coach, about the because you just said that men, you can die of a woman. Well, little fun fact that I came across years ago that when I thought about it, I was like, wow. But if you look at the majority of men that's in prison, they're in there because of a woman, whether it's trying to get money for a woman, whether it's trying to take up for one, they're trying to fight for one, whether it's trying to be prideful. So, I mean, if you go down the list, it's generally because of, in a sense, a woman. Not that it's her fault, it's his fault, but it has the relation to do because, like you said, you'll die for a woman.
I don't know if I'm gonna have to disagree with that. I think the majority of them for drugs.
But there's some that go to get the validation of a woman or to get the money for the woman. It's not.
Well, no, I don't mean drug dealing. Most of them are drug for having drugs on them, not necessarily for selling drugs. If it's drug related, the majority. What you call it? My mother used to work for the police department, and yeah, she most of them is especially in the 80s, it was having drugs on them, not necessarily selling drugs. They round up more drug addicts than did drug sellers.
And if you take probably like a lot of them that had the drugs, if they was trying to get the woman to take some drugs with them because they wanted to lessen their senses and stuff like that. I mean, I
don't know if
judges, I have some judges that are family members, and I'll show you the statistics that definitely show. And if you talk to them, I mean, really just go out there and talk to them. I mean, we got a male's ministry out there. You just talk to the men.
Well,
You ask them, why are you in jail? And it usually stems from dealing something with a woman.
I get what you're saying in terms of like, you know, probably the selling and trying to get money and things like that. Like I've seen some of that to where it's like, again, when we're going back talking about what men need to make for a woman to look their way, these everyday men are not 6-figure earners. So then it's like, again, I've seen females to where it's like, well, you know, I'm gonna encourage you to go out there and do what you need to do by any means, you know, to supply my needs. I need the purse, I need this, I need that. So then they're more likely and be more okay with sending somebody out there, even if that means that they may, you know, also have to go down or something like that. But I've seen some of that, you know, where people are okay with it as long as they're benefiting from it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Coach, have you heard of the red pill?
No.
No, guys. I was just curious. You know, a lot of your talking points, just, you know, a lot of the things I see online. I want to.
I have a sense of humor when you said the red pill. It took me to the Matrix. I'm like, wait.
Essentially, that's what it is.
Hey, Will, I got a really early morning, so I'm gonna have to jump off. Normally, I try to rock out to the whole thing, but I appreciate you having me on the show. It's a great topic. Good meeting everybody, and I will. I'll let y'all later.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Damien.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right. Hey, I wanted to play this video real quick. I wanted to see because we were talking about self-respect and standards. I want to play this video real quick. I want to hear what you guys have to say. But a quick question to the ladies, Jasmine, Tilly, and Coach. Do you think do you think the impact of a father in your life has a big impact on your self-esteem and self-respect for yourself as a woman?
I would definitely say yes. Oh wait, are we answering right now? Sorry.
Yeah. I just want to hear your thoughts before I play this video.
I would definitely say yes, especially on the self-esteem. Because your mom, she can only kind of teach you or tell you so much, you know, because a lot of times when we hear things from a woman, from other women, even though it's your mother, we don't really take it in fully. But when we hear it from the other sex, even if it's your dad, we'll see, oh, okay, so that's probably how other like men think. I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Pass it to you, Tilly. What do you think?
I think it is very important, even from my own experience growing up. And the gentleman had mentioned earlier, when you have the father figure, you have more ammunition to go out there. So, you know, like, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm not going to tolerate that. So from my own personal experience, I would get myself in relationships and I wouldn't know that this isn't right. This isn't healthy. You know, it would take a little bit for me to be like, something isn't right. Like, I don't know if I should be treated this way. Like, I don't, and I would look at my friends and see them in healthier relationships. And so then I would go off of that also, like, okay, well, they're not doing what I'm doing, so something's not adding up. So I think it's very important to have that, again, positive male role model, father figure, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then thanks so much, Tuli. What about you, Coach?
And then just to pick up a little bit off of what Tuli was saying, I would say like also and Damien had mentioned it earlier today, but it's a lot of it is social too. Like we also have to realize that there's a social aspect into what the norms of dating are. Like when you're young, oh, we argue, we fight, you know, blah, 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 that's cute type of thing. But you grow up and you be like, yeah, no, that's toxic. You know, so we do have to acknowledge that does heavily impact our choices in relationships as well. But I do feel like having a dad plays it matters, and I would say it definitely played a big role in like my self-esteem and how I carry myself, because I've also had friends that did not have father figures, and I just see the difference. Like, again, when we were younger, maybe it was more some similarities but still some differences, but as a woman, it's like, yeah, I definitely see the difference, to where probably many of those people were not friends just because of different paths and outgrowing each other. And it's just like, hey, yeah, I don't move like that, so it does. And it's just like, you can still stand on whatever you stand on, and just and feel confident and comfortable about it. You really don't have to feel like you have to compromise or be led astray and by lies that people tell and things like that. Oh, if you love me, you'll do this, this, and this. That's nice, and it's just, so yeah. So I would say you're more confident and solidified in who you are as a person.
All right. Yeah, let me just play this video real quick, and then I'll come back full circle. I'm just interested in what you guys think. But I think it's something that I do notice, that especially when it comes to having self-respect for yourself and confidence and self-esteem, also feeling beautiful as women on yourselves, something I do see online. But let me just play this video real quick, and then I'll come back full circle for you guys. Let me see. Is that it? Okay. There it is. Okay.
With her dad is important for you. Women who grew up having a great relationship with their father are more likely to have higher self-esteem, easily be able to trust men, have more self-confidence, be more grounded, and less neurotic. Some women today grew up without a good relationship with their father because the father was either absent, we'll get into that in another story, or he was abusive. And as a result of both of them, these women often have less respect for men in general and less respect for fatherhood. How do you think that's going to affect you when you want to have kids with that woman? How do you think that's going to affect her ability to trust you as the father of her kids? It doesn't mean that women without a dad should be avoided, but you do need to find out if she's made peace with her father, peace with the relationship with her dad, regardless of what her actual relationship with him was like. This is not an easy path for women that have experienced terrible relationships with their dads, and I'm sorry to them for that. But as a man, it's not your responsibility to mop that up. It's women's responsibility to do the healing and make peace with the relationship with their dad. If she hasn't done this, and therefore doesn't have a real or emotionally good relationship with her father, she will most likely self-sabotage and repeat the pattern. And this will perpetuate yet another fatherless upbringing. For kids to thrive, they need fathers. So make sure you understand your woman and her relationship with your dad before you get too far.
No, my reaction to that video, and based on my experience, when I dated some girls that had no father figure, I realized the pattern of a lot of them didn't really have a lot of self-confidence and self-esteem, as far as just feeling good about themselves, feeling beautiful about themselves. One thing I did I do still remember back in the day was they will always think that they're ugly, so. Even though they're attractive to me, they look good to me aesthetically, but for some reason they just thought that they were ugly. And then also one of the things I did notice was they always needed, they were looking for somebody to make them happy. So, and I think for me, and I've shared this in a previous podcast, I think when you come in a relationship, it's unfair to ask the other person to make you happy. And I think it's an unfair deal. I think you should be the only person responsible for your happiness is yourself. And if you're expecting your partner to make you happy, and I think it's never going to work out long term, because only you can determine that. But he brought up a great point. It says that as far as self-esteem, confidence, also one of the things that we do see online on social media is women out there, they're looking for validation, they're looking for attention from men, they're looking for happiness, and they do post themselves online out there, and that's the normalized behavior to what we see online. But I think sometimes that can be a detriment, especially if they're looking for something long term. And I think, Coach, you mentioned it before. One of the things that a father would do is kind of teach you as a woman the things that men look for to find respectable, so you can understand that, and you can move like that as a woman, so you'll be able to attract the good quality men who have good morals and good standards. But what's your? I want to ask you, ladies, what's your reaction to that? In your experience having conversation with women, do you think that the self-esteem issue is something that you see online and also with your friends, and also women are always seeking a validation or happiness from their men that they date, instead of kind of looking and self-reflecting with themselves and kind of figure out those issues themselves. I just want to pass it back to the ladies. Anybody can respond. What's your take on that?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I definitely agree with the self-esteem issues. I've seen it a lot in my friends too, like growing up, even online. Especially when it comes to like dating guys. When I was younger, it would be like, that everybody knew that one person that like always has a boyfriend. Oh, she always has a boyfriend, and now that you're older, you kind of can look back on it and be like, that could have been the reason why maybe her, father wasn't around during that time. And then now too, I feel like I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Someone else could go. I just lost my train of thought.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Jasmine.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. What about you, Tuli?
I was gonna say, from my own experience, like I didn't have self-esteem. I didn't have self-worth. I didn't even know what that even was. So it took me getting older, me going through experience after experience and learning and seeing others and being in therapy and healing and doing this self-work to learn, like, this is what self-worth is. This is how it is to love yourself. And when you love yourself, then like, I'm not gonna put up with that. I'm not gonna stand for that. But yeah, you when you grow up without, and you don't have that figure in your life telling you your value or instilling that morale in you, it is hard because you don't know. And yes, it can come from, women. Like, I grew up with strong, independent women, and in our household, it was taught that, you cook and you clean, but you're not doing it for the man, you're doing it for yourself. And so everything was about more you doing it for you. It was never a man in the equation. And so I didn't know what self-respect was, Like I said, it would be relationship after relationship, and then I'm like, okay, I'm kind of sick of this. I'm over it. I don't want to be in this situation. And even to go back to the trust thing, trust issues, very huge, very, very huge. And I don't look to the man to make me happy, but I'm so guarded to where it's like, even if he did things to, bring joy or something, is it safe for me to let my guard down to enjoy that, So
Yeah, I heard this from a previous conversation with a woman on the panel. She talked about how her lack of having a dad impacted her and her self-esteem. She said that because she had low self-esteem, she was more susceptible to manipulation
Mhm.
to men, because I believe that every girl is looking for that love from their dad, and if you don't find that love from home, you're gonna find it outside of the house. So she was looking for that in men, and even though she was easily manipulated, but she tolerated a lot of BS because she was just looking for some kind of love.
Yeah.
And any guy that was just giving her some kind of validation, some attention, just telling her you're beautiful, that was something that she needed from her dad and she didn't receive. It took her a while to kind of
Mhm.
grow from that and learn from that. But I think it can be dangerous for a lot of women if your father don't instill that confidence in yourself and that love. And Coach, you talked about how much the love that your dad showed to you, so you can have some kind of stability in your life emotionally. That's why that video was talking about a lot of the women who don't have that healthy stability from their dad. They can be neurotic sometimes. And oftentimes they're looking for love in the wrong places, and it would take them some bad experiences, unfortunately, to figure out what a good, healthy relationship is. I'll
That's
pass.
right.
Oh, go ahead, Phil.
And that trait, neuroticism is something that is found more in women, generally. So when you have that, when it's coupled with, like you said, like neglect, or it's coupled with not having um that to view, in my perspective, is like, if you don't know what bad looks like, then you're not aware of how to negate it. Sometime, it
Mhm.
makes it more tricky, makes it a little harder for you to avoid bad, if you're not kind of a little bit of accustomed to seeing that. So that's why I guess it kind of back to what I was saying earlier about having that, dad, even if he's not that great of a father. I'm not saying he's the best, but just not a good father. Bad father to an extent. That is something that you say, well, I'm going to avoid that. So that gives me a little bit more to go off of, versus them, a man coming in my life and trying to figure out, was this is a good man? Well, I see these same character traits in this man as I did in my father, and I saw the way he treated my mother, and that was negative. And I'm not, so you're not going to, in a sense, fool me this way, because I see it. I've
Yeah.
seen it lived out before me. Versus, like I said, well, I don't have someone there. I don't even know what it looks like. So now I have to figure it out and go through it myself,
Mhm.
and then be like, you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
me, that's the little bit of the spectrum that I was kind of coming from with that. That's uh, so
Okay. Thank you
yeah.
so much, Phil. Coach. Yeah. You want to add on? Go ahead, Coach.
Yep. So I would say, kind of like going back to what Tuli said, it's in whether, well, she didn't really say it, but she gave an example of it.
Mm,
I feel like a lot of the women aren't aware that they have low self-esteem. So it's a lack of
Mhm.
self-awareness that these are traits of low self-esteem. It
mm-hmm,
is normalized and it is, celebrated. So now we're in this time where everything is celebrated and normalized, where bad behavior, you would have been shunned or, talked about back then. It's more normalized now so that people feel less ashamed of the exposing their bodies and things like that, because a lot of the way people dress now, back then somebody would have stopped you on the street, ask you how much, and things
mm-hmm,
like that. So it's just like, things are changing, but people are not realizing the why. Okay, this is normalized, it's your body, and but why do you feel the need to dress exposing and
Yeah.
provocative and things like that? You say you don't want the attention, but then if you don't get the attention, then it's kind of like, oh, what's wrong with me? So it's like unconsciously you are seeking the attention,
Yeah.
you just lack the awareness that you actually are. And so then
right.
it probably goes back to that, look at me, look at me. I've seen it to where when single women see, married men, and it's kind of like, oh, walk past, he don't look at me. Now I got to double back and things like that. So now you're wanting to test to see if this is actually a good man or a faithful man, and now you want to know what she has that you don't, that is keeping his attention from off you because you know you look good, type of thing. So it
Mm-hmm.
so it really is a psychological thing that people go back and forth with, that they don't even realize that they probably need to be healed from.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, you know what? I just want to get your perspective on this, because I mean, you're one of the more base women that I've encountered on this type of platform. Um, do you think that it's okay socially, just because society says going to the beach in essentially your underwear, but calling it a bikini, is acceptable, to the point that if I say it's not acceptable, that I'm wrong?
And that is a tricky question. I feel like, again, when you're going into a relationship, it's each person understanding each other. And again,
Mm,
we're talking about something different. Now we're talking about, roles in relationship. Well, what does it mean to be a submissive woman? Now we're heading somewhere else. But I feel like there needs to be, you need to be able to hear your mate. If it's like a, hey, you look good, but I'm kind of uncomfortable with that. It needs to be ask questions. It's a why, what's
Yeah,
making you uncomfortable
Mhm.
type of
that's
thing.
true.
Because then it also could be something where maybe it's really not about the bikini. Maybe it's about the fact that someone else may be looking at you, or maybe it could, and not saying this is your case, but just saying it could be maybe the man is feeling some type of way, or maybe he's feeling insecure. So then it's just important to
Mhm.
just have those conversations. Again, me personally, I have mommy weight, so I'm not wearing a bikini
Mhm.
regardless.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna wear some shorts or something like that. But
Mhm.
I don't know.
I,
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like it's a matter of the relationship. If the woman is secure in herself and in her man, to be like, well, hey, I hear him, I know he doesn't like me out here in this, and she considers that, that's great. But if it's a matter of you being in a relationship and a woman doesn't respect that, then
yeah,
that's where the
Mhm.
problem lies, because now you're with someone who doesn't even respect how you feel, because
Yeah.
that's more so of a feeling that
yeah.
makes you don't feel good with her wearing that outside. And it's
Right.
like it's her response that will tell all, because
I
and
agree. I agree with you, Coach. I think when it comes to a bathing suit in the at the beach, it just comes down to your conversation with your man of what he finds comfortable, uncomfortable. That's different for every man.
Mhm.
Uh, but I think sometimes it can be to the extreme. What I see online, like for me, I don't have a problem with my woman wearing a bikini, but not the ones I see on Instagram is like barely like just a string,
yeah,
right? Like
what is it? The G
the
string
G
one? Is
string
it
and
like,
like
Like
it's like
negligee
and the
almost.
bra is like a string. I'm not no, that's too much. I mean, but for me, it's like it makes sense. If we're in a hot beach, like I don't have a problem with my woman just wearing a very nice conservative bikini, but not the ones I see online.
Mhm.
I think there's sometimes I think there's some guys like they expect their woman to like wear a full clothing suit in the hot ass 100-degree beach. I
I
think
think.
I think that could be that's too much. But I think there's some bathing suits that are reasonable,
Mhm.
and still be respectful. And of course we're out in the beach, so
Mhm.
we have. But that's something I think for the man that you have to communicate that to your woman up front in the beginning. But I think a lot of times men don't communicate that standard, and they
Yeah.
get upset,
Right.
and
and I don't
that
even
causes
see
a lot of issues.
And I don't even see some men nowadays seeing it as a problem. And again, and I'm just saying from
Mhm.
social media and things like that, but I've seen women walking around hand holding with men's, and both cheeks are out of their shorts. So I think some men don't mind, but again, to me, I would question why he doesn't mind, type of thing, because again,
Exactly.
so then I'm just looking
Exactly.
at, I would look at it like that. But when we're talking about a bikini, is really just different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
And I
again, the penny kind like that, or yeah,
and I
and
look at
like
it
that.
and
That's a
well, and I
go
look
ahead.
at it as like really even like I said, going back to a father, like my daughter or my niece, they're not going to be with me wearing a bikini on the beach. And I would say what's good for the goose is good for the gander, whether you're a child or whether you're an adult. Because I guess the aspect that I'm viewing it as, in a sense, I'm a child of God, regardless of my age. So I'm not going to. We all know that in a school setting or in a church setting or in a grocery store setting, a bikini would not be acceptable. But because you're in a sense on a hot beach, it's acceptable. But if you just look at the psyche of the sexualization in the free will, if you call it, that that has brought to me, even when you're looking at your children, you're almost ridiculed or shunned from saying um you can't wear that, right? But again, I even go back to Muslims and certain other faiths, Abrahamic faiths. They've never been that way. It's just more in this modern time that is socially accepted. So now I'm going to merge it into it's okay only if it's here, but it's still a hypersexualization, no matter how we perceive it. That's why I would say I don't want someone looking at my woman in a sexual way, because to me, I'm allowing her to be a stumbling block. Generally, men have a problem with sexuality and understanding that sex is on their mind all the time. That's why they will sexualize women even when they don't want to be sexualized, and when they're not trying to be sexualized,
Yeah.
because it's so desensitized in our mind.
Yeah.
So that's why I just, go back to that.
Yeah, I think sometimes when we talk about bikini, we're thinking about the bikini from like the what we see on modern times. But there's a lot of, I mean, like I'm Pacific Islander, so a lot of our women would wear not the underwear, but they wear like
Like the little
a
skirt.
clothing, like a
Sarong?
yeah. We have a different word for it in Tongan. I can't. I'm trying to translate it in English, but it's like a cloth, right? Like the cloth. But they won't. But then they'll just wear like a bikini bra. But that's normal at the beach. So that's culturally.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think from a religious
Yeah.
perspective, yeah. But I think sometimes it can be too extreme, especially if we live in Western society.
Definitely.
But I think there's a respectable way. But I think it still comes down to the man of what is comfortable, and it's your responsibility to communicate that. And if it's going to be an issue, then just leave and find a woman that's more aligned with your values, instead of
Indeed.
trying to force. And I think this is something I do see a lot of men do, is they have more traditional values, especially when it comes to the clothing of a woman, but they'll choose the most progressive woman and try to force her to
Oh, wow.
adhere to
Right.
the more traditional conservative
Right.
values, which
That's
is crazy
horrible.
to me.
That's
And
horrible.
then they'll go online and complaining, these women are, these women don't know how to listen. I'm like, no, you try to force somebody that did not have the same values as you.
Exactly.
The problem is you, brother. It's you.
Exactly. Because you're trying to align yourself with something that has become socially accepted, but it's
Yeah.
not accepted to you because you see the consequences and the repercussions of having that, and now you're trying to change
Yeah.
someone. Like, no, you can't do that.
All right. I just had one more video I want to play, then we're going to wrap it up and conclude with the pod. But I had a question for the ladies, if you don't mind me asking. What's the oldest you would date? Like, seriously. What's their age range when it comes to like at the oldest you would date, like take seriously and go in a committed relationship? 5 years, 10 years is like what like for you personally?
I'm sorry, it had kind of broke up. So you said what's the oldest?
Yeah, what's the oldest that you would date, like like date seriously and really invest in that man for a committed long-term relationship?
I would say 10 years.
10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 10 years. What about you, Tilly?
I don't know. Probably like 10 to 15. It would
Okay.
depend on the person, the individual, the maturity, because you can say, 10 years, but maturity wise, they match you. So I think that plays a part also.
Yeah, I agreed. It definitely depends on the maturity and like just where mentally and physically. Because I've talked to someone, I'm 24. I've talked to someone that was 30. And he's just one of those people that just seemed like he was kind of getting things, he was doing what he's supposed to, but it was just kind of like late in life. And so for me, having already done those things, I look at it as like, that's great for you, but it's just, I want someone that's, just a little more, that's gathered a little more. And so, yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Coach?
I would have to say 10, around 10 as well.
Okay, all right, 10 years. Okay, 10 years. All right, I just had this video. I don't know if you guys know who Sadia Khan is. She's a big influencer, especially psychologists talking about dating dynamics. But she had an interesting perspective when it comes to like women dating older men, especially the conversation we're having tonight. Especially if your father is not around. So I just want to play it real quick. I want to get your feedback on it. Do you agree, disagree? Does it have an impact, especially from your dad? And we'll wrap it up and conclude the pod. So Oh, I thought I downloaded. Give me 1 second. I just didn't download the video. There you go. There it is. Do you guys know who Sadia Khan is? Have you guys heard of her content?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Let me just. There it is. Okay, got it. Okay.
Have when they grow up without a father figure, and if they really feel it, is they'll always date a lot older men. So they'll be 17, 18 years old, and they're looking at the 30-year-old and the 35-year-old, and they're getting older and older, and there's a huge gap between them. Now, in my experience of working with women that go for these age gap relationships, is they are in survival mode without a father. They need that safety and comfort. And the conversations that we normally find really boring coming from our father about mortgage rates and, like, you know, saving your money, they sexualize those conversations. So when they hear it from an older man, they're like, oh, no, he's so responsible. They're not used to it. So they end up initially going for that older man and falling in love. But once they feel safe and they've got the money and they've got the safety, they then look for men around their own age. They end up, it's almost like having a safe, secure base. Once you've got an older father figure in your life, then you go on to see what you're sexually attracted to. But until you've got that secure base, you're in survival mode. You're looking for who can make you feel safe, not who can make you feel who you're attracted to. So they confuse, they blur the lines between attraction and safety. And they end up looking for it in an older man, but then cheating on him with a younger man.
All right, so that was an interesting take. And I know from a biological perspective, it's normal for women to go pursue and be attracted to men who are typically older. But you know, there is something called age gap relationships. I'm sure you've seen it online. 10, 15. I think for me, 10 is normal, but I think I would consider like a significant age gap difference would be like 15, 20 years. Over than that, then okay, that'll be an age gap. But I think 10 is normal to me. Just my own opinion. But yeah, well, what's your reaction that we do see online? And I think there's a trend online. You know, women looking for sugar daddies. There are sugar daddy websites. I don't know how many times I've seen on Twitter when women would post something on Twitter. Where's my sugar daddy at? There are websites out there of women just saying, you know what, I want. Where's my sugar daddy? So, and I don't know if I don't know. I think after listening to that clip, you know, I think if a woman's generally looking for a sugar daddy, but not looking for a genuine connection from a man, I think that can kind of be rooted from, you know, not having that safety and that security. And I think, and I've shared this on podcasts before, but I think generally for what most women are looking for in a man is just absolute safety, not only emotionally, but spiritually, mentally, physically, sexually, but also financially. I think that's what women look for. And I think a lot of times when you don't find that safety with your father, you tend to go look at from older men, because typically men who are younger, especially if you're 18, you know, younger men, they're not going to provide that financial safety, that physical safety, because they're not that level yet. They need some time to build. So that's why the older men tend to have that financial stability and that physical stability, because they're more mature physically. So that can be very attractive to a lot of women who don't get that from their father. So, but what's your reaction to that clip? I just wanted to, I was just curious, as women, what's your reaction to the clip? Is there truth to it? You disagree? Doesn't, you know, you don't think that's a thing? You've never seen that? You've never seen that in your life, but or maybe you've seen it. I'm just curious. I'll start with you, Jasmine.
I would agree and disagree with her to a point, only because the ages that she named, she's at like 17, 18, going after guys that are like in their 30s plus.
Yeah.
At that age, like girls typically are, if they are going for the older guy, it's usually not because like, oh, I love him. I think I love him. It usually is like, you know, surrounded by like something like money or something. So yeah, that's probably true. And also like girls that age too, they don't have the full scope of things. So to think that someone at that age, 17, 18, going for a 30-year-old is just going for it for love is kind of like funny, you know, because it's like you already know with that kind of relationship how it's going to end, really. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with her. I kind of don't.
Okay, no worries. Thank you for sharing that, Jasmine. What about you, Tuli?
I think even just from my own experience, like I've always dated older, and also the industry I was in modeling, it's kind of like that's what you do. You know, you're young, you're pretty, you have an older guy, and he provides for you. However, on the flip side is that because of that, it becomes more controlling and you become property where it's like, okay, because I'm doing this and because I'm older, this is what my role is and this is what your role is. And you may not necessarily have signed up for that. And so then I would date guys closer to my age, and then it still would be, you know, that lack of this isn't it either. So I think what she said definitely about being in survival mode, for sure, that definitely is a factor, is that you're looking for someone for that safety net, for that stability, and not growing up with a father, not growing up with that. You do think that an older man can provide that. However, they're looking at you in a completely different way. You know, they're not looking at you as a person and you have a voice, or you as an individual. They're looking at you as an object, and because they have this status, that's all you are. And so you learn that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Suli. And then, Coach, what's your reaction to that clip, Coach?
Yep, I would say just a little bit to what Tuli said about the just like that being the norm in the industry. I feel like in the community that's an unspoken norm, to where young girls grow up believing that, oh, if I'm 17 and I got somebody 24 or 30 looking at me, I'm mature. I must be real attractive, like those kind of things. So those are things that really don't get talked about. That it's looked at like, oh well, you know, hey, I'm own or something like that because I got older people looking at me. So that's a whole nother topic. But I would definitely say, like, I would have to agree with Jasmine. I agree to a certain extent, but then I disagree. Like because they still have the option for still looking, or, you know, choosing to be with somebody that they're physically attracted to, and also that can also financially support them. But sometimes it's more so just about kind of like what Jasmine mentioned earlier about the guy who was 30. Sometimes it's about the what's already been acquired and who matches what you already have. So sometimes I'll use your age, Jasmine, at 24, she's established this, and this, talking to a 30-year-old who is just starting out. So it's kind of like, okay, well, this tells me I'm 24, he's 30, he's starting here. Maybe that's not, you know, maybe this is more common around men the age 30, that they're still getting their stuff together. So I'd rather be with someone that is more aligned with what I already have. And maybe that's 35 versus 30. And then, you know, it's just but sometimes you can look at that, and with younger people, or people your age, you can choose to build with them, help, you know, speak life into them and all of that to help them grow to their potential. But a lot of times people, especially women, don't feel like they have that much time. Like, to a woman, time is important. She's getting older, she has goals, maybe want kids and things like that. So sometimes women put themselves on a clock. So then it's like, okay, well, you know, I have to reach this, and this by a certain time. And if the people that she's coming across aren't aligning with that timeline, then it's like, oh, well, let me see what it's looking like with the older person. And then ultimately it is a little bit probably more experience, more stability and things like that. And older guys may be out of that player phase. Like, you have too many men that still normalize being a player and having many women and things like that. And when you have a woman that's already sure of herself, established and things like that, she doesn't want to waste her time just kind of like still trying to figure out if this is the right one and things like that. She's looking for somebody who is different, like, and that looks like the appearance. You know, do your pants have a belt? Are they at your waistline? You know, those kinds of things. And so then it's like, okay, not seeing that 30 is still not happening, 35, maybe 40. So then it's kind of like, I feel like it's taking all of that into perspective.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Coach. And then Phil, you want to add on before we conclude?
Of course, I disagree with the video. In a lot of ways, I do see where she was coming from. Because I mean, you can see that effect if they don't have a father, that they want to get an older man. But if you look at get a man around their own age, generally, if you don't admire and respect and to some degree even honor that man, you're not going to stay with that man. It's if we look at the trend of even divorce, it's financial generally a lot of times. A man has not even reached his financial achievement until they're generally around 35. They're trending up. And it's between the ages of 45 and 55 that a man has reached his most the amount of money that he generally makes is between that age range in his life. So a lot of women, when they're looking for older men, they are looking for security, and that's actually a good thing. And they're looking at him for direction and protection. When you're looking at someone that's 18 years old or 20 years old or 21 years old and he's a man, and you're 18 or 20 or 21, both of you really don't know much, especially in the United States in 2024. Yeah. You're just naive to a lot of the stuff that you should have been learning from birth. So yeah, I disagree with it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I don't have a problem with women looking for older men for provision and protection. I think that's normal. But if you look at it from a biological perspective, that's what women find attractive. But for me, what separates a woman just looking for a father figure in her life and a woman that truly respects and honors the man, even though he's older, is if there's a genuine connection between you and that person. So if you're with somebody that's older, but you don't have a genuine connection with that person, especially emotionally, I think that can be a more transactional type of relationship. But but if you're with somebody that's older, whether it's 10, 15, if it's 20 years, but you generally have a great emotional connection, you guys have some common interests, you guys can build you guys have something that you guys can be intimate. You have a deep intimacy with this person, especially emotionally. And I think that's, for me, that's how I can distinguish the difference between being somebody you really respect as a man, even if it's older, or you're looking for somebody to fulfill that void that your father didn't fill, that you never had in your life. So, because I know some women who are with somebody that she described on that clip, that they're more successful, they can give them some financial safety and security, but there's no emotional intimacy, there's no emotional connection in that, and it's causing an issue. So even though she's very stable in her life financially, and they have she has a house, the white picket fence, her kids are taken care of, but the relationship is being diminished because when they're together, nothing happens. They're just in the house, a big nice house. And I mean, there's countless examples of people that we see online that have the lavish lifestyle that we want, but behind closed doors, their relationship and marriage is failing.
Right.
Big time. So,
and to your point, I mean, can you see how younger men, in a sense, if you're in a sense sexually liberated, how younger men might fit that, for you, be able to satisfy you there, if that's on your mind. But if you're not, like you said, emotionally attached with that man, like you were saying, with an older man, you still need that emotional attachment. You still need that attractiveness, to be with him. I think that's the best way.
Yeah, the best way to break it down for me, because I mentioned it before, what women are looking for is safety, absolute safety. But when the finance is just one component. But we also got to discuss the emotional safety, the mental safety, the spiritual safety, the sexual safety. So I think sometimes we, as men, they have the assumption of what I see online. Oh, just because I provide money, that's my connection to that woman. That's my relationship with that woman. But that's just, even though it is an important piece, because majority of divorces come from instability when it comes to financial instability. So because you can have a great relationship with your woman, but if you guys trying to figure out where to eat and where to live every single day in survival mode, that's going to create a lot of hardship on yourself and the relationship and the family. So the safety doesn't only land on the financial component, but also the emotional component as well. And I think that's why some guys who are older, they have the financial component connection, but they don't have the emotional part. And the young guys, you might have great emotional connection and intimacy, but he can barely keep a job and put a roof over your head. That's going to cause issues. So I think a very mature man is going to provide stability in all aspects, not only financially, but emotionally, sexually, mentally, spiritually. And if you can provide safety in all aspects of your life, that's a good predictor that it's going to work out long term.
And I actually see it as the opposite. I actually see the older men being more emotionally supportive and available, of course, as well as financially. But the younger ones are not so much emotionally available. It's like we're continuing to grow hardened, heartless men. And it's like with the thing of, oh, boys don't cry, men don't cry type of thing. But then we're raising emotionless men. So then when a woman is hurt or she's saying she needs you to understand her emotions and things like that, you get men that just be like, suck it up, buttercup type of thing. Or like or just cannot relate because they are not familiar with using their own emotions, and it's associated with weakness, and then they're told that their only job is to provide, but it was never elaborated that there's multiple ways to be a provider. As you said, Will, you provide mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, socially. Like though there are many different financially, but financial shouldn't be the sovereign, where it's like, as long as I'm providing financially, I'm doing my job. Because you're not feeding her soul in any, or feeding her in any other aspect of her life.
I agree with you, Coach. A lot of men just assume that that provision is only financial, and that's it.
Because they were taught, and it was never elaborated. Yeah.
So we have to break it down when you have conversation with especially men who are the strong masculine men who are in long-term healthy relationships. They'll break that down, that financial is important. It is a critical piece, but that's not the only piece.
Exactly.
All right. So, but I think a lot of the advice I see online comes from men who fail in relationship with women, but they're giving advice to men. Hey, just get your money up, and everything will take care of itself. It's like, no, that's only one part. That would attract a woman, but that would not sustain and maintain a woman.
That'll attract the wrong kind of woman. That's going to affect your health, wealth, and your physical wealth. Because again, those with some women like that, you're probably not the only one. So again, we talk about the whole probably got to fight to keep her and things like that. Yeah. It's toxic. One way or another, it's going to be toxic.
I always say attracting is the easy part. The hard part is maintaining and sustaining.
Exactly.
And what I see online, all the content I see online is just talk about attracting, but there's no conversation about maintaining and sustaining long-term healthy relationships. And we do live in a society that's very anti-family, and is very based on divorce. And so what I see the solution is, well, just attract. If it doesn't work out, just bounce to the next one. And I think that's unhealthy. So, but we've come to the end. I see E-Rock on the live chat, Marley, December, KTS. I haven't seen you in a while, but thank you so much. But I gotta give a shout out to the ladies real quick. All right, thank you so much, Jasmine, Truly, Coach Sean, Coach, man, you were dropping gems tonight, Coach. All right, and I definitely learned a lot from you, and then Phil, and of course Damien and Jerk. Stanley, thank you for jumping on before. But we had a great conversation. Always good to hear your perspective. But I'll pass it back to the panel. What's your final thoughts from tonight's conversation? Anything you took away from it, and how can they find you? And thank you so much for your time. Jasmine, as always appreciate you being on. Always good to hear your perspective. But what's your takeaway from tonight's conversation, and how can they find you?
No big takeaway. I guess I enjoyed the conversation tonight. with Tuli, Shantae, and Phil. And yeah, thanks for having me on here again. And you can find me on Instagram at Jasmine Alvali.
All right. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Pass it to you, Tuli. Thank you for jumping on again. I do appreciate you. I know you put in some extra effort to be here tonight, so I do appreciate that. Final thoughts, and how can they find you, Tuli?
Thank you again for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I definitely enjoy being on the panel and hearing everyone's different perspectives, even walking away with some gems from the last time, even this time. So I'm very appreciative, and you can find me at Your Muse Julie, and that's me.
All right. Always a pleasure to have you on. Coach, thank you for coming on and being part of the pod. Man, you were dropping some fire tonight. You know, you're on fire tonight. So final thoughts, and how can they find you, Coach?
Well, thank you for that, Will, and just thank you for having me. Final thoughts, I would say this was definitely a good topic. I enjoyed being a part of it, engaging with the rest of the panelists, and I think more conversations like this is definitely needed and is valuable. And how people can find me, I just edited my name. You can find me on Facebook. My name is Shantae McCullum on there, and the coach is there just because I'm a certified life coach. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach. And then Phil, final thoughts, and how can they find you, Phil?
Indeed. I would say, everyone just try as much as you can to do better every day. Try to continue to grow into your last breath. Be a better person. Do not accept social norms and think that they are ethical or truthful or based in some type of way just because it's socially accepted. Be proactive instead of reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, if you haven't, if you still have your father, go and try your best to be proactive, to take the initiative to build some type of relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we just don't accept what the status quo is and what the normalities of this world is, and if we don't and don't in a sense just look at someone's perspective without really seeing that there's a difference between perspective and perception, just kind of look more into that, because there's a lot of perspective out here. But if we could kind of dig more into the way that we perceive a thing, then we can see where it's just off. It's like this is weird. This isn't right. You know what I mean? So you can find me at Bone BONETO BONE BTB, whether at Gmail or Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. Bone.
All right. Thank you so much, Phil. But Phil, you said one of my trigger words. This is for the men out there. I don't believe in trying. It's either you do it or you don't. All right,
thanks for that correction.
Yeah, there's no try. Ladies, correct me if I'm wrong. Would you rather hear from a man, I'll try to take you on a date, or I'm going to take you on a date?
Going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Action.
I guess that's why I fix it with
being
being proactive. That's why I fix it with, instead of trying, just be proactive, just go.
Yeah, for the men out there, just do it. Do what you have to do. Don't believe in trying. Do it, and you don't do it, but make a decision and act upon it. So, but ladies, thank you so much, Phil. Thank you so much, fellas, and then the ladies that were on here tonight earlier. Thank you so much. We had a great conversation tonight. As always, shout out to everybody that watched the entire stream. And we do this every single Thursday. We have great topics. We have a great discussion with the women, with the female perspective. If you see value in it, smash that like, subscribe button real quick, so you get notification when we go live next time. But ladies and Phil, thank you so much for your time. But you guys all have a great night. Peace, y'all.
Yeah. Have
Peace.
a good one.
All
Everybody
right.
stay blessed.
Night.
Thank you so much.
Amen.